Okay, we're kind of waiting on a couple board members and the guest of honor. We'll go ahead and get the ball rolling. We will call the meeting to order. We will do 26-001. Approval of agenda.
We have a addition to B on new business 26015. Discussion action approval of professional nurse services agreement.
Okay, anybody want to approve the agenda as presented? I need a pen. Give me a pen.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as amended.
As amended, excuse me. Thank you.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor? We will go to 26012.
Where are we gonna do the open forum after that?
Oh, we will. There's obviously going to be some questions from everybody. Everybody's going to want some answers. We're going to do the open forum after we do the presentation from Account Gordon and
We'll leave it open.
yeah. That way everybody can have their piece and say and questions and try and get stuff answered up tonight. We'll go on to 26-013. Discussion action, consent agenda, the approval of the minutes, payment of claims, and the donation. I'll have my computer set up. I was good on that.
I had a couple of questions on the
Go for it.
payments. What is a cyber policy? And that wasn't part of
No,
For
that's
some
part of.
reason, they split it off. They did that last year.
Okay. I probably had the same thing last year. And I've seen there was a bunch of like football equipment, pads and things, is that coming out of the insurance stuff?
No, I think those are just regular.
Regular new stuff?
Yeah. Megan, can you hear?
Jordan, we're on claims.
Okay.
Questions on claims?
I hurried.
Payment? You're good?
I have a quick, what's the lunch credits?
Those are to, well, some of them are probably to, like, parents of graduating seniors from last year. If not, there's some that, during enrollment this year have a huge credit and they're there to the school, so they just reimburse them back.
Any more questions on the claims? You want to tell us a little bit about the donation?
You told me that. That was.
Very sizable, very nice.
Yeah,
donation.
it's a very. Did we hear back on that?
Probably never did, so I
Okay.
don't know. I know she went into this one, and I thought something hidden in those papers.
Yeah, I hate to say the wrong thing, but I believe it's for like an outdoor classroom for the new building. But I need to verify.
Research it more.
Yeah.
We did get a $30,000 donation from Lenore Compton from the Ron Donch family. So, very sizable, very nice.
You say it's been earmarked for something?
Yeah. A new building.
We good on claims? We got a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented. And much thanks to the Ron Domsh family and Leora Compton for the donation. That's huge.
I second.
There's a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda. Very much thank you to the family. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion passed. We'll move on to 26014, old business. A is update on construction policy.
Hold up. Megan, did you vote?
I did for yes, but you probably didn't hear me.
So, okay, thank you. Can we turn that up? Okay. We can hear her if she talks. Update on construction policy. We'll turn it over to Greg.
We were gonna do it.
I'll do it over here. Well, so I think the best place to start is where we're at. My construction's on hold. I think everybody probably knows we have had some concrete issues on the project. So we want to go kind of through where we're at with it. And so kind of started noticing that there were some tests that weren't coming back that met the design standards. And so when that happens, we have to go into fact finding mode and do a lot of testing. That's where we're at. So this book right here is ACI 301 reference manual. It kind of tells our structural engineer what we have to design to as a minimum. And so Kent Wells, our structural engineer, I think is online. I just texted him. Chandler, you might let him in if he's not. Thought it'd be easier because there's a lot of numbers associated with this to write some things down. So this gets complicated pretty quickly. So feel free to stop me anytime and ask me questions about this. But there's different design specifications for different exposures of concrete. Terry, if I'm not talking loud enough, you let me know, right?
You could speak up a little bit more.
I'll try. Not my strong point, but a lot of times on a project, the structural engineer will specify one design level of PSI, pounds per square inch, so that when they're on the job site, a contractor doesn't have to try to guess, they're going to be pouring this area this day, this area this day. Sometimes we don't know how they're going to pour everything. So a lot of times they just specify one level of concrete design. And on this project, we actually started out that way in December. I've been talking with McCown Gordon and the team and concrete guys. We divided that into different areas. And so there's different exposure classes that you have to design concrete to. And it has to do with freeze thaw. So that book says that whenever you have concrete that has an F2 exposure, which means it has freeze thaw exposure, like our foundations that are above with 3 foot below ground or higher, you have to have a PSI of 4,500 PSI for that concrete. Okay? If you don't have any exposure, that concrete specification can go down to 2,500 PSI. So our engineer specified that when we have concrete exposure, when we have freeze thaw exposure, it equals 4,500. But for the areas that do not have exposure to freeze thaw, they don't typically like going down to 2,500, so they specified 3,500 PSI. So what happens when we get concrete that comes back that does not meet spec? The manual has rules to follow about what that looks like. And they say if it comes back and it doesn't meet spec, you have to have 3 tests that average 85% of that number. And you cannot have one test that falls below 75% of that number. So over the last several weeks, Dan Gordon and Concrete guys have had UES, Penco, Terracon, and most recently Kaw Valley, all do separate testing on this concrete. And there have been some anomalies that we've seen. For instance, a couple of the tests came back actually, and UES has had the lowest returns on what they've shown as PSI. And so some of them way below spec, by 52%. They even had two come back that the PSI actually reduced in strength on the follow-up test from the test that they had taken previously. And honestly, we never see that happen. And so there's some question about this, and I kind of just want to discount the UES test for now. Penco, Terracon, and Kaw Valley have all taken tests separately and had different results as well, but nothing quite as abnormal as the UES test. There's also been some question about how those tests were taken. Were they taken correctly? A lot of specifics that I'm not sure everybody wants to understand, but
I think that it's important that everybody does understand the specifics of it.
so
It's very important.
So some of these tests, for instance, were taken as the test wasn't taken perpendicular to the wall. They were a little bit at a diagonal, or they were taking a 2.75 inch diameter test and not a 4 inch diameter test. So Kaw Valley is the one that had the 4 inch diameter test, and I think both of these at 2.75 inch.
3-inch core, 3.75 ID.
2.75
ID, so 3-inch core.
So 3 inch and 3 inch. And so if you go by kind of the rules per se, the Kaw Valley one is probably the most reliable one. And all of their tests, well, I'll get to that in a second. So currently we have the existing gym, and then we have what's on the north side, which is the high school side, and then we have the elementary side on the south side. All the concrete on the high school side, it's just footings. It's freeze line goes 3 foot below grade. All the footings and everything that's been poured on this high school side are a minimum of 6 foot below grade. So none of that comes into play with this rating. It all comes into play with this rating. And so on the elementary side, we have the floor slab, we have interior footings, and then we have the walls, the retaining walls, and the foundation walls that only extend down to 3 feet. And the perimeter of this definitely in this F2 category. Okay. So then the question is, what do we look at? So on a 4,500 PSI concrete, if you look at 85% of that, our tests still have to be at either 3825 to be at 85%, and one cannot be below 3375 at 75%. So kind of what we're finding is that we still have a problem on the elementary school side. And in your on the high school side, again, all of that should have to be this requirement right here. Kaw Valley's tests, there's been six tests taken on that side, and they range anywhere from 28, 31, 27, 61, 27, 36, 26, 45, 33, 37. So, and let me get one other thing down here. So if we have to meet even if we had to meet on the 3,500, if we were at the 85%, we would have to be 2975. or 26, one could not be below 26.25. Okay? But this is what our engineers specify. This is what is in the manual. And so, the question is, okay, which one do we have to use? Well, our engineer, Kent Wells, has rerun the loads for that area, and he used 2,500 as a bearing capacity to see, do we have a problem if everything meets 2,500? And everything does not have a problem if we use 2,500 as bearing capacity for that stuff. Does that mean it meets 3,500 that they originally specified? It does not. And you can see most of these would not average 2975. And so, and I haven't done the math to see if these three would actually average the 85%. But, and the report that I gave you guys that I sent over the weekend, I did not have the Cobb Valley information included in that, because I wasn't, I didn't see it, I thought it came later. And so, so my recommendation in that report is not based on using any of this Cobb Valley information. And so, which, for full disclosure, my report, I said I think all the concrete needs to come out. I don't think we can, I'm not gonna stand up here and tell you guys that, when I know Terry and all you said, asked me along the way how long this building is gonna last, and we want this building to last 100 years. It's not just about the PSI, but the reason you have the 4,500 PSI is for durability, you know? And we looked at ways, if you could come back and you could take the freeze-thaw issue off the table, could we come back and trench around those footings, and could we waterproof the foundation, and then could we come back and over insulate the insulation? And there are ways to do that. But then you go and you look at the waterproofing standards or the warranties, and they last 20 to 30 years. And so I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that that's a 100-year solution. Where if you had 4,500 PSI concrete that you should have had originally, you would not have that issue. So, open for questions, but kind of where it is right now is that we're still thinking that on the elementary school side, I think the perimeter of those foundations need to come out and be redone. What that would look like is that we would cut in a certain distance from the perimeter and cut the concrete slab, and then we remove these foundations and the foundations for the columns that are out in front, and then we would reuse the floor slab, and at least we would not have to replace any of the underground plumbing and all the underground work that's there. So we've talked to McCown Gordon. Is that feasible to actually do and then not cause problems with the floor slab? And I think they thought we could do that. The reason we said keep this inside perimeter of the elementary school is that there's been one test done there that does meet the requirements. It actually came in 3290, whereas again, and that was after a 7-day test. I don't know, can't remember what the other tests are, but what we're saying on this interior is that we think we can salvage it, but we need to have more testing done. And we're suggesting to have Cobb Valley come back out and do that. Test this area to make sure those footings and will meet specifications. And if that's the case, then we can look at doing that. If not, then we would recommend tearing that out as well. On the high school side, it seems like, we had a concrete contractor in here today and, had some discussions with him and we really didn't discuss the insurance and where his next steps are if this were the case. But I can tell you, if this were to go to court or go to any other engineer to look at, they're gonna fall back to that manual and they're gonna say, even though our engineer specified 3,500, this is really the requirement for the ACI manual, and our engineer has said that this works. So that is kind of where we're at with it at this point. There definitely can be some discussion about, well, this is what we expect, and this is what we should have gotten. Why didn't we get that? And what's the compensation for that? That we didn't get what we paid for. And again, we're not gonna recommend anything to you guys that's not gonna last 100 years. We have absolutely no reason to do that. So that's kind of an overview of kind of that piece. And I don't know, County Board team can talk about next steps and if, or provide additional information if you guys need it.
On the high school side, there were other companies that did testing there as well.
Right.
Are those test numbers in line with Caw Valley, or why are we only using Caw Valley?
Yeah, they, so. The reason I said what I did on the recommendation this weekend is that there was the UES test that fell below. Like there's one that was at 2493 and there's one that was at 2142. And I just could not wrap my head around saying that I think that's the right way to go. But then when you look at all of the other tests are around 3,000. And then all of these tests that I show here by Cobb Valley are all done those are from the high school side. So when you look at those tests, that I guess gives me a level of confidence. You have 3 companies that have looked at it. All of them have come above the 2,500. So I really do think that there's not an issue with those when you have 3 companies that have tested them. And 2 of them were hired. They all hired. You guys can talk about that.
So we had Terracon, or initially UES is the third party for the school district. They did the initial cores based off the response from the engineer. To get a second opinion, we had Terracon come out after agreement with Coldy in the batch plant. Terracon came out and cored second, and then at that time they also took additional cores for Penco to break. So Penco didn't actually core, but they broke cylinders back at their laboratory. And then once those results came back, Coldy had a contact in Junction City from Caw Valley Engineering who did the 4-inch cores, as Greg has pointed out on the board. So 3 full tests, and then Penco had broken additional cores in there as well.
Why are you omitting UES?
There were just so many anomalies with their testing that I don't probably have the level of confidence. When you have tests that come back from them that broke, was it 28 or 56 days?
56 day came in.
56 day test actually reduced in PSI. And
Right, so I think we need to discuss that and have a discussion on that a little bit further. And they are a third-party tester, correct? They're supposed to be independent of everybody, correct? They are being held to specifications, correct? Just like all of us, right?
Sure.
Are they performing their test per specifications?
Well, I think
No, it's a yes or no question. Are they performing their test
I think there's some
to
question about that.
specifications?
I think there's some question about that. Regardless, if we throw them out, it doesn't matter.
That's fine, but let's start at the beginning. Are they performing their test per specifications?
I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody here could speak for UAS. Nobody works for it.
Well,
I'm not
They know
an
what I'm
engineer.
asking.
Yeah, they,
Then tell us what you're saying. So
I'm
we
saying
don't have
that
to guess.
UES, right here is a core sample that was tested by UES. It is out of specification in accordance with ASTM specifications.
Okay.
So when you look at all those tests, that's why they're being omitted. Right? Is that
I'm saying it.
because they're erratic?
Sure.
Let's start there. Let's
Okay.
start here. Then let's do a timeline. Is that a fair statement?
Why is it necessary?
Well, because they're the third-party tester that is testing the entirety of the project, and would they be the ones, if you're not confident in their test, would they be the ones continuing moving forward, testing everything?
You know what?
None of the numbers on the concrete met any of the specs of what it's supposed to
He
be.
just said they were
Why?
going to recommend cost.
If I were
That's a
moving
good
forward,
question.
if I were moving forward, I'd say moving forward we should use Caw Valley because that is what the concrete contractor and I believe the batch plant have both said. And so if we're all gonna be on agreement on how we move
I didn't
forward.
say who to move forward with. Let's be very clear on that. I said that it should not be US because they're not performing the test per specifications. And that's a fact.
Okay.
And then I do have a question, another question along those lines. Why is McCown Gordon influencing a third party tester's decisions? You can look like that, but my question is why were the cores from UES broke, not per specifications?
I guess you're gonna have to elaborate on that.
Who told
My fault.
UES to break the cores the next day?
It wasn't me, not that I'm aware of.
So they didn't break it, they didn't core it and then break it the next day?
I do believe they did.
Okay, why did
broke
they
them the
do
next
that,
day.
not per specifications?
We don't pour every day, so we don't know the standards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really up to
We were
them to
trying to-
say,
We're relying on the third party tester.
it's really up to
do
them to
that.
say if that's not something that's policy. It's not up to these guys to say, they're not trying to influence them, they're just trying to get the results as fast as they can.
It was my understanding that it was asked with McCown Gordon, not only with UES, but with Terracon, to break them the next day.
That may be, but it's on the tester to tell us that that's not the right way to do it. It's not on these guys, because we've been fighting this battle for, what, 6 weeks now, trying to get answers? And they're trying to get answers as fast as they can. And if it's not following spec, it's on the person doing the test to say so.
If they're not following the specifications, they're supposed to say, hey, I'm not following them.
If somebody asks me to do something, if you guys ask me to do something, and I don't expect you guys to know the rules, I have to tell you that, no, I can't do that, because that's not following the rules. I don't expect you guys to do that.
So Terracon did make the statement that they would not break it because of the 5-day, because of the specifications. They stood up for it. The reason I'm asking this and stating a timeline on this, and there's so much information to digest that we'll be here till midnight. If we want to do that, I'm all about it. But understanding the gravity of what we're trying to get at and understanding the whole process, I think it is very pertinent that it is discussed. Starting with the batch design. Does anyone want to elaborate on the process of that, or would they like me to? Because was the batch design sent in and approved?
Typical process of a batch design is that whoever's supplying the design submits it, and our engineer reviews it and sees if it meets the spec. And we have that information. We also had information that correct me if I'm wrong, but that mixed design was used at SharePoint, and they had breaks that met the design specification. So you can use a design specification that's used on another project as an example. And it is not standard practice, and I think this will come up, so I want to elaborate. It's not standard practice to do a test for and then test that mixed design by having breaks. Typically, a mixed design that's submitted is oftentimes referenced from another project that's reviewed and approved, and then you move forward with pouring concrete. Is that what you're getting at?
I'm asked, the batch design was approved.
Correct, because we had
Correct.
information that it met spec.
Okay, so the question is why is it failing? Under the assumption that it's failing. And I want an answer as much as everybody else. And the cylinder test can be explained by that.
No,
Absolutely they can. They're not in specification.
but you've had 3 other companies do the same
Cylinders.
tests.
Cylinders.
Oh, the cylinder test, okay.
I'm not to cores yet.
Okay.
The floor is as the timeline goes, there was I don't have it highlighted here, but there was a point there where when there was knowledge of the 7-day breaks or the 28-day breaks that they were low, that they were finally passed on. That was a little over a month past, or about 30 some days past the initial 7-day break. The first time that we received any information on that they were a low break The first thing I said is I won't pour another inch up there until I have an answer. And the first thing I did was I called in a third-party tester so that they could be on site. And I asked them to follow us from plant to site. So if we are doing something wrong, I wanted answers of why the product is failed. Those tests passed on a 28-day over 5,000 PSI.
Which test you talking about?
On the floor.
Slab on grade.
Slab on grade.
UES was 1,000, over 3,500 as well of the design.
There was a UES broke 640 pounds less than Penco, correct?
I agree with that.
So I guess identifying part of this is identifying the fact that in every scenario, the start of this and the continuation of why would we have continued pouring concrete, or why wasn't it brought up when the first red flag was there, when there was a low break?
Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the question was asked on Pete's part, too cold, and you can step in here too, to the concrete contractor to make sure we were comfortable in pouring the slab on grade over footings. And that answer was yes, correct?
How many days for the slab on grade, but how many days after the initial 7-day break that appeared to be low was pointed out to Goldie or anybody?
After the initial 7-day, I said the moment 28 days
Typically,
happened.
you're trying to get 100% at 28 days, so it's kind of unfair to judge a 7-day break. Now, the first pour, we had a 3-day break, and I'm pretty sure we talked about the results, at least with the approval on side.
There were red flags at the 28 day that we were allowed to move forward though, right?
Now, the question was asked on the comfort level of moving forward.
Then I can kick that dead horse some more, but I think we got the point that UES is in question on doing cylinder tests at this point. Is that a fair statement?
Fair statement.
And the answer of, or I still haven't understood why they were influenced by McCown Gordon in their decision-making process. And that isn't the only time. We ran 2 different tests at the plant as test patches. And McCown Gordon had to tell him, or told him that he was checking the slump wrong, and had told him to recheck it and corrected him. Why was that? When there's supposed to be a third-party tester that's independent of anybody.
I don't think I was there for that part.
Yeah, wasn't there.
Well, that's a question that should be answered, I think, as well.
Why is that relevant?
Why is it relevant?
Why is it relevant?
There's a chain of events that happens during the process. We rely on the inspector to perform their job per specifications, right? By giving a slump test or slump result is one of the key factors in placement. And Mark, you can, wherever you're at, you can speak on this as well too if you'd like. But if you go down that path and he is not measuring slump correctly, the product can be affected by that, and placement can be affected by that. And that goes into, maybe there needs to be a chemical adjustment to let it flow better, to get a higher slump. The product that was delivered on site was per specifications. per approved specifications.
I think there have been some issues with that. I mean, I think you guys can attest to this more than me, but I think we struggle with the lack of consistency of slump, right? I mean,
What is the approved slump design?
4 plus or minus 1.
The approved slump design?
That's what's in the specifications.
What is the approved slump design? It is not 4-inch, but what is the approved slump
The
design?
specifications read 4 plus or minus 1. Right, Greg?
Yeah, what do you think they are?
The approved design was a 3-inch slump. That was the submitted, approved design.
I have not seen that. I have to. Ken, are you online?
Yeah.
Can you attest to that?
Approved slump. I could see what's in our records.
So when you don't have an accurate inspector that is giving correct results, that is biased and influenced on the installation crew and on the product itself.
Well, I guess just so everybody understands, if we specify a 4-inch slump, there is some tolerance on that, but theoretically, the way you're talking, the lower the slump, the stronger the concrete. If you put in a 6 or a 9-inch slump, your concrete's gonna be weak. So theoretically, that works in favor of getting better concrete.
So a drier mix would be a better concrete.
But you do not want to pour a floor slab, a 3-inch slump. I mean, everybody would want to pour a 4 to 5-inch slump for a concrete slab.
I understand on the floor. The footers though.
I mean, it should have worked in our favor if that's the case.
Right?
Apparently did not, but we don't know why.
So that goes to the cores. Why were 3-inch cores pulled from 2 different companies?
Yeah, I'm not a core guy. I don't follow the.
Okay, can you guys speak to that?
No, I mean, that's what they say they always do, so I trusted them to go off of what they've done in the past.
That was what UES started, right? They were the first ones to core it.
Yeah, Terracon.
They did, because he told me that they normally would do a 4-inch core.
So he told me on site. And no one was present from Coldy or the batch plant on site. They knew the date and time of that coring and no one was present.
Okay? Per specifications, a 3-inch core is more susceptible to damage. And cores are, off the top, 15% reduction in strength
But
versus
the
specifications.
4-inch didn't meet the 4,500 PSI.
I understand that, and what I'm getting at is, I want answers. I do think there needs to be more testing. There's a petrograph test that is being performed.
Mhm.
Is anybody aware of that?
Of course.
Okay,
But those results are not back yet, and we're hoping to get those back by Labor Day, but we don't know.
so I want an answer on the 4-inch too. I cannot explain those at the moment. There's more testing and more involvement that needs to happen.
Do we just keep doing testing until we get the numbers we want?
Absolutely not. We do testing until we understand why the product is where it's at. Because the data shows that in every fashion that it should not be testing as low as it is.
Yeah.
So everybody has tested incorrectly so far.
I wasn't there. Pete said I wasn't there to do the core samples. I can't speak to that.
So
I got a layman's question. If the specs call for 4,500 on the exterior walls, 3,500, 4,000. Was the mix design for that, or was it the mix design?
Was the next design what?
Was the mix design based on the 4,500, or was it adjusted?
But my understanding is that a mix design was submitted that met the 4,500 PSI. We did not reduce that. Now, found out, I did hear today that the mix design was a 4,000 PSI mix that tested at 4,500. And prior to today, I had not heard that. So I don't 100% know, but we do know that we were given a submittal by the supplier or by the installer that mix design met had exceeded the 4,500 PSI requirement.
So if the mix design was correct, then how come when you do the core test and tube test, everything come in so low?
That's the question, and that is what we don't typically see. I've never had this situation. I've rejected full gym floors before because it didn't meet spec. I've never had a situation on a project where the testing came back low, especially this low. I don't think you guys have either. And so, you have maybe had one, but not to this level in any way, shape, or form.
So you can't say where the problem.
That's what we've been trying to find out. And so, what Matt just referred to is a spectrograph test that they take it and they basically crush this concrete, test it in a lab to see what was the actual problem.
Right.
But we won't have that back for a couple weeks, at least.
Well, I went over all this information, and as a layman, I cannot understand if your design mix meets those specifications, and then you put it in the hole, that it's gonna come out, well, percentage-wise, that low.
Correct.
So, where is the problem now?
That has yet to be determined.
That's what we're all hunting for.
Keep ready for the numbers on this elementary side that we're talking about. How low was it?
And so on the elementary side, if you just use like this area right here, Terracon was at 3780, and Penco was at 3023. And then down on these columns that are down here, Terracon was at 3003, and I don't have a Penco one, I just have a UES one. And so, and this is where it gets, at their 28 day, Penco actually had a 3890. But then,
UES.
on the, I'm sorry, UES. And UES had a 28 days, 3890 and 3840, but then after that, they had a 2240 rate. This area up here that we're saying why we think the interior might be okay is we had one test that was taken right here, and that test by Terracon, no, we just have a UES cylinder break there, and that was at 3290. So I agree. I mean, if we think we need to have Cobb Valley come out here and do some additional testing on that interior footings and slab, maybe not really the slab, the footings to make sure we're okay. While they're out here, they might as well take some other cores around the elementary walls to see what they break at. I mean, why not? They're gonna be out here already doing that. Just make it.
You said additional testing on what? The floor?
On the elementary foundations and walls.
So, I'm not a concrete guy. If you do the 28 day, So if they come back at 40 days or 45, whatever, there's a formula in there that for the pressure to be where it should be, or how do they do that? I mean, what?
Stronger as it goes. Concrete should typically.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
It is,
okay,
it is known that, about 2 years ago, maybe a little bit further, it's a more eco-friendly powder. It's called 1L. It gains strength slower. Right now, they are trying to change, instead of a 28, it goes to a 56 day. That's why one of the reasons that things are being tested.
it's supposed to be stronger?
It'll start out low and it'll gain, it
Okay.
won't peak until, the 28 day, it can
Won't peak until later.
potentially still break low. But in 56 days, because the curve is a slower curve. And that is around the world with the 1L powder.
How do you solve the problem? More testing.
Well, then which tests do we trust? We pick and choose which ones.
If we find out, maybe we do find out that the penicillin Chericon test should have been a 4-inch test, not a 3-inch test, then, you know, I have no problem sticking with the Pop Valley test, or even us, I think we go back and ask these guys why, why they're doing tests that apparently don't meet spec, if that's the actual case. And seeing what their response is on that.
So if you take a test now, how long does it take to get it down there and back and results? And
Got
week?
be in a bag for 5 days, and then they break it after it's cured in a bag for 5 days. My understanding of the bag is for moisture.
From concrete that's already on the ground?
So if I could speak for just a minute.
Yep.
Trying to gain an understanding of this, it is a little bit more of a vulnerable specimen where everything's not being done right, or you can have some microfracture. If you lean on it too much and you put too much heat into that drilling process, you can have microfractures, you can have plastic shrinkage cracks, or you make that fail. There's one or two particular course we did on the gymnasium side, one hit, had to have a reduction.
You speak about as loud as I do, so.
Yeah. This is Greg. He's with Coley, the concrete contractor. Mark, excuse me.
So,
Greg's
can you
up
speak
there.
up a little bit?
Sorry about that.
We hit a high 3 by the time the correction factor was to 12 inches over, we hit 25. Obviously, that core had an air, right? Microfracture is something that let it cut loose 1,500 pounds before the one 12 inches over. It doesn't mean that concrete is 2,500. There was a problem with that. So to eliminate some of the craziness that we were seeing, so we were throwing different companies at it. We came in with 12 out and did a rebound hammer or Swiss hammer test on it just to try to prove density and hardness on that class step 2 exposure to trees thaw. And very good results on that. On a standalone test, but it is a positive feedback of consistency on the high end of that test.
Yeah, if you didn't hear what Mark's saying, he said there were maybe some issues with some of the breaks, like maybe there was already a shrinkage crack that happens in concrete. We all know concrete cracks. Sometimes you get a crack through a specimen, through a core, and that can impact the test. So they had a hammer test done. That those tests did come back very positive. But talking with our structural engineer, the hammer test does not supersede a core test. It says the opposite. A core test takes precedence over a hammer test. So I don't know that we want to rely on that, but it is a test that was done.
And it's not a standalone to reject, make that call. But it's very positive feedback that I think it calls it qualified. before removal.
In your experience and all the different jobs that have had to do core testing, is this a common issue that there's that much variance in the core tests, or they have that much trouble all the time?
You've never gone to this unusual exam. There is signs of inadequacy. So interesting before we recover that I think objective sentence and then could come to terms with these cores. Reach out to the office to have some more data to reflect on.
The Swiss hammer test is a non-destructive test that doesn't rely on the variable of how the specimen is taken either. I think that's important as well.
There's other tests out there too, non-destructive, ultrasonic velocity test. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. Non-destructive.
I haven't had to do a lot of testing beyond core tests, so I can't say that I can. I mean, I have done on platinum levels, those kind of things, but not on strength because it just typically isn't an issue.
Great.
Yeah.
But if we do all this testing and we go back, we talk about inches or whatever, is there a point that it comes to that maybe we don't have an answer? Like, is there a possibility that could ever come up? Like when it's, because there's things in life that happens that in life that you're like, I really don't have an answer for you. I wish I did, and we've done everything that we all know how to do. And could there ever be a point that we just say, we don't have an answer questions other than it's just not okay, or this is okay, and that's just black and white. We don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm just asking because I'm not a concrete person. I'm just saying that we've done a lot of stuff, a lot of testing, and nobody knows the answer. It's one of those. Is there a point that it's one of those? There might be one of those. I don't have it. I don't have an answer.
I hope we don't end up there, but yeah.
Greg, may I comment?
All right, can we wait till Greg's completely done and then we'll do all the answers and stuff in our,
So I think
back in our open forum?
plan is that we're presenting this first, and then we're gonna have an open forum, and then we'll come back and answer more questions that we're doing.
Yeah. Let's get things finished up and then go back to questions.
And so, the question is, we may not get an answer, moving forward, kind of the next steps, so we can feel confident moving forward, is that we do have a different mix design that we're gonna move forward with, correct? And we are going to do testing before we pour anything. So we're not going to just rely on a piece of paper in the middle that says, hey, this meant 4,500 PSI. We're gonna get that mix design, we're gonna put it in place, and we're gonna take the cylinder test, and we're gonna make sure it meets spec before we do any additional pouring, because we don't wanna be back in this situation again. And so, I think that's the best thing we can do moving forward. There's still no guarantees. The thing about concrete is poured every day is a little different. Temperature affects concrete. There's other things that affect concrete. So, concrete can be kind of troublesome at times. But if we pour it ahead of time, we take the cylinders. We're confident with that, and I think that's the best way we can go moving forward. The question for you guys that we have to determine is: are you guys okay if you take out the UES testing? Are you okay with moving forward on the high school side?
Was Call Valley, they only tested the north side?
No, they tested the pilasters on area A.
Okay.
Probably 2 cylinders on the pilot.
Yeah, the 4 columns up front.
Okay.
Of the elementary.
With these number here, there's
Well, we don't have a formal report yet.
these numbers here from the north side, or?
I believe so.
These ones that he's on the board, yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be the gymnasium.
And you go back to the book, it says 2,500 pounds, and they're above that.
Ken, you want to elaborate on that? You went back and reran the lows, right?
So we checked the footings that are in place to see if they would be adequate to support the loading required at a strength of 2,500, and we found that they were to be adequate. Yes.
So the north side, what you indicated, is not a problem.
Correct. It does not meet the original specs, but it's not a problem structurally or durability wise.
When was that 4,500 PSI addendum made to the
March 24th, I believe.
March 24th?
Yeah. Prior to that submission, it was all the same 4,500, I believe. So
It was 4,500.
our December 16th drawings that we submitted were all based on 4,500. I don't think it went down to 4,000. Be wrong on that. It's either 4,000 or 4,500 on March 24th. We revised that to be 3,500 for the areas that weren't exposed to freeze-thaw.
The drawings that I received during the bid process were, everything on the drawings that I could find stated 4,000.
Well, I think the bid process happened before March, right?
I said we bid concrete out in December.
So then why do the numbers not even meet the 4,000?
Well, that's the question, and that's what we still need to try and figure out.
I mean, can we feel comfortable moving forward with, even though they're at above the 2,500, but they didn't meet what they were designed to meet?
But we can feel confident moving forward because they're above the 2,500 for the ACI manual. They're not subject to freeze thaw. Moving forward, we still want to have the 4,500 PSI concrete for those walls because those walls around the gym, at least on the north side and mainly on the north side, are exposed to freeze thaw. Now, you can make an argument that on the interior walls on the west side and the south side of that gym, they're never going to be exposed to freeze thaw, so that wouldn't actually be a requirement. But you just run into problems. Where do you start and stop pours? You know, these guys want to turn a corner. You don't want to limit them on how they are able to, on the constructability of it. So I think we should just keep it all the same at 4,500.
So there will be concrete that needs to meet the 4,500.
Yep.
Correct.
All the walls that are basically going to be around the gym have to be at 45.
To this point, nothing has met 4,500.
The 4,500 is only for durability when it comes to freeze thaw exposure.
And that's where
It gets kind of cold there.
Underwater saturation, right?
Yes, it has to be exposed to.
It's water saturation it's concrete that has water saturation that is exposed to a freeze thaw cycle.
Yes, but there would be, I don't know if there's any condition that you wouldn't assume that we wouldn't have a freeze thaw condition that's exposed to moisture. I mean, rain gets in the soil. In Kansas, you use 3 feet for your freeze line, so that's why it's a requirement. Do you see any exception to that?
I'm okay with that. I just want to clarify that what the requirement is. It's water saturation and it sees a freeze thaw cycle. That's the F2 classification.
I don't know if it's saturation, but it's exposure to water, yeah. So you don't want water coming in and getting out, and vice versa, you know.
I'm just not reading up on differences in 1L concrete here. Is that what we're using, is the 1L?
Everybody's using 1L.
Okay.
It is.
For about 2.5 years now.
Yeah, I think so. 2 years. I think when they switched it for us.
Very standard.
Okay.
And there have been some issues with it.
What's it gonna take for us to move forward instead of backwards?
You guys have to be okay with this, and maybe there's some discussion about compensation for why it didn't meet that, because that's what you should have paid for. And then we have to do more testing on the elementary side.
So the north's okay and more testing on the south. Find out where the line's gonna be.
Right.
That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
So if we approve the the north side, then people can go back to work.
Yes.
Correct. Tomorrow.
I think, Mark, didn't you say you had people coming tomorrow?
I do have a team coming with positive anticipation on this conversation.
Let's get to going.
This is crazy when you don't know what in the hell caused the problem.
So, the statement was made that there's a new concrete mix design, correct? You made the statement that it needs to be tested and the numbers, correct?
I think that's the only smart way to proceed.
Okay, we've done 2 different tests at the plant. One with the old design, exact same thing, and one with the new one. Has anybody discussed those numbers?
Yes, we have discussed some of that. I don't know, yeah.
Okay, I think that should be mentioned here as well, of that the old design, that the test met and would have exceeded the 4,500 PSI requirement. The product that is up at the high school in 674 5 yards is the exact same thing that at the plant, the exact same process, hit 5,000 PSI, over 5,000 PSI in 28 days.
So then why is none of this?
That is a great question, and I agree.
Yeah.
And I'm very confident that if those would have been performed correctly, this wouldn't even be a discussion. Without any question in my mind.
But even after that, with 4 other companies or 3 other companies, we're still having load tests.
I understand
Which
that.
had no bearing on that piece of rock there.
So this is kind of the end all be all when it comes to what is identified as, that's your initial test, 7, some places will do it 7, 14, 28, 56. This is the one that should be, is in a environment that shouldn't be influenced by human error. A core
But
sample.
straight out of the truck, correct?
These samples should be taken at placement.
In a tube.
So when I say that placement, so you can, if you're dumping it out of the truck, it should be taken from where it's landed on the ground.
If they put it in a tube.
If it's taken from a pump truck, or if it's a pump truck's being used, it should be taken at the end of the pump truck. It should be taken at placement. Some of these weren't even performed correctly on that regard. It's ugly a lot of different ways on how this was done. That being said, this is the one area that the specimen that it's in the lab environment that from the entire process, it's in a controlled environment to reduce influence of human error.
I disagree with that. When you take that test is subject to human error. You have to pour it in lifts, you have to rod it 50 times. There's definitely ways to mess that test up when you're taking that test.
Correct. On some levels, if it's performed per specifications, here's an example, and you brought up SharePoint. There's over 2,000 yards that are with over 50 tests that this design was based over. Those tests see a variation of this. You can see a trend, you can understand a trend based off of slump, based off of everything. The only difference between the 2 mix designs is the school mix design has 5% more rock. And by all standards, in any data that you'd look at, would increase the strength. Negligible, but it would increase it. And that's what it was based off of, over 50 tests. And we're here discussing.
That's why we accepted it in the first place.
What's that?
That's why we accepted it.
I understand that, but I want everybody, especially the community and this, to be very well aware of where the basis of this came from, of why it was approved and where we're going. And it was approved based on an economical mix design, correct? Because the initial drawing stated that it needed to be a 50-50 mix design. And for everybody in the crowd to understand, that means 50% rock and 50% intermediate aggregates or sand. A little more involved than that, that's the basics of it. Economically, rock here comes from, until recently, it comes from Lamar, Colorado, or down in the Garden City area, depending on availability. Rock is not cheap to get here. It's not economic. So that's where the discussion came in of an economical or a proven design.
This test was not done to save money. We did not use this mix purely to save money and cut costs. Don't insinuate that we're doing this to cut costs in this building, because that mix design, as you just said, way met specs on a SurePoint building.
Absolutely.
So it's not.
But it's an economic, from an economic standpoint, I can pull the email out that says from an economic mix design.
It is not uncommon to adjust the mix design based on what's regionally available. And to your point, yeah, in this area it's harder to get rock, it's more expensive, so you adjust the mix design. It's still intended to be 4,500 PSI.
Absolutely, and it would meet that.
So don't insinuate we're trying to cut costs on this project.
So if it's designed for the 4,500.
Why is the word economic mix design but in an email form?
We want one that's gonna work for this project. I didn't put that email together, I don't know. But it does save money. Does it make sense to ask you guys to bring in rock from Lamar, Colorado and waste money when we have a design that meets 4,500 PSI?
Correct. We have a design that meets 4,500 PSI.
So
with proven test.
Go back to this core. If you're saying if this core would have met specs, we would have never done any testing.
No, we would have tested the cores if the core should have been tested correctly.
If they would have been tested correctly and met specs,
we would have never drilled a core.
And so we would have a good core and low value on concrete, right?
What do you mean low value on concrete?
We have low tests right here.
Based off of core samples.
Yes.
I can't explain.
But you're saying that if we had a good sample, we'd have never tested this and we'd never known what we have.
I'm saying that there's influence in core samples that I cannot explain.
So how do we get the test numbers that we want? What do we have to do?
I think the first step is getting the petrograph test back. The petrograph test is I've just learned about this one, so I can't speak on it entirely. It's a very in-depth test. Goes under a microscope. I mean, it is.
But they look at the micron levels.
It is a very intense,
levels.
Not a simple, quick, break it, go test.
No.
It is.
It will tell the story, Matt.
I know. That's why I say.
I'm glad it's being done.
Mineral composition, grain size, texture, and other features.
Oh, it's so much more.
Yeah, that's just a quick overview.
So I think that it's in best interest to get that petrograph test back. And understand it.
So back to moving on, right? How do we move on? Right?
That's a $64,000 question.
And the gyms, the footings in the north end are good.
Was the petrograph done to both sides?
It's alright.
It's from area A wall.
Yeah. Okay. So people on cores coming from area A.
So would you say that there's anything in question here at all, or we'd have to just wait for the?
I don't believe that there is anything in question. I can't explain. There's influence on, if you read the specifications. I know most generally, the majority of people don't want to even understand.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like we see the numbers. That's all the.
I get that.
We're not in your world. I see the numbers, and the numbers don't tell us what we want to see.
Correct. I understand that. It doesn't. I'm pretty disappointed in the core sample myself. I can't explain that. I've been I have called and I have tried to find,
Were there core samples done up at Surefire?
no.
It was all just the,
Everything broke. We were meeting specifications in 7 days on, I haven't put it to the exact number, but probably on 85 to 90% of the test. We hit specifications in 7 days.
What were those specifications? Okay, 2,000.
Theirs was a 4,000 on their footers, which sees exposure to, and everywhere else, but is a 4,000. But we met it, it hit that in 7 days. That was, honestly, is kind of exciting for me to, if we hit 3,800 in 7 days, that's kind of disappointed, to be truthful. So, in my mind, the only difference is that there's 5% more wrong.
which we said should be stronger.
Negligible, but yes.
So if we can agree, we can get Mark and his crew back going on the gym, on the north side.
That's what's being indicated. Now, my big question is, we're running into all these problems. We've lost damn near 2 months. Who is going to bear the burden if there's additional cost involved? You're not going to come back with a change order to
No.
USD 105, are you?
No, Terry, the school won't bear that cost.
Do what?
The school will not bear that cost.
Well, we're bearing the cost because we're behind. And nobody knows the answer of why.
Then we don't need to vote on this, we just need a,
I have one more question.
go right ahead.
For right now. When Goldie's back on site and they are moving forward, how does the rest of the picture look?
Meaning by way of,
Who's testing it?
I don't think that's been discussed yet, but if I had my vote, I'd say call Valley, because that's been the one testing party that everybody's kind of agreed to at this point. It hasn't had any questions about. But I don't know what that looks like.
Previous discussions had running concurrent, side by side. I think you were a part of that conversation up front, having multiple testers there. With UES being underneath the school district right now, we have had meetings with them to discuss. Mark was there to discuss their practices, but that was kind of the path that we had discussed, to just have that double check on both ends. So yeah, the third party, there's been a few names thrown out there: Call Valley, Terracon, Driggs, all within the area.
Before you guys move forward, I know there are some people that have questions. I don't know how you want to
Oh,
handle that.
we do questions now.
That's fine.
I believe you were up when we quit.
I have some questions. I had some questions, but they're out of the picture now because some
Try and keep
things
this,
have been answered.
Dale,
So, Dale Weiner, you're talking to.
try and keep a time limit on it, so.
Yeah,
the
3
other people
minutes is
can-
fine.
Okay.
I'll ask one or
Yeah,
two
we
questions.
just want to give a chance for everybody to get in.
Okay, I understand. So, I get the idea of backfiguring and having an engineer do that, but in the real picture, the real world, you're asking the school to take something less than the original spec. I had concerns about that. I'm very focused on specs. That's my experience, my knowledge. And just so you all you know, I've been through this before. It's not pleasant. I get it. I support Matt. He wants every stone unturned. That's only fair for all of us. Okay? I get it, Matt. All right? So, I'll just leave it at that, my one comment.
Oh, like, so to address that, I tried to address that earlier. It's like, yeah, I mean, our engineer specified 3,500 PSI, and you're not getting that. And so, is there some deduct or some cost that you should be compensated for in that regard.
Well-
Now, it still meets the ACI manual. And so if our engineer over-designs something, and I hate to say that word over-design because, but I wouldn't have expected our engineer just to come in with a 2,500 PSI index, because if we came in at 2,500 and it didn't meet that, then we're in a world of hurt that we can't come back from, but without just having to redo things. But the fact that it was higher, gives us this latitude in many ways. So, but you guys haven't gotten exactly what you paid for either. Yeah.
Greg, this is a public building, right? We're talking about safety, long-term, how do you put a performance, how do you put a price on that to reimburse the school district?
Well, we are not suggesting, we would never suggest, I still think this is a 100-year building, even with these. We are not, and I said at the beginning, we are not sacrificing durability, longevity, or safety. We would not be recommending this if that was gonna be a problem with any of those.
One more item, in the last 10 years, permeability has become a requirement, permeability. I know that's not in the spec, you probably can't add it, but back to the spec, in my understanding, it was always 4,000, not 3,500.
That changed in March 24th.
Okay,
Didn't.
I can accept that. Reluctantly.
But it is, I mean, it was done.
Yep.
You had a question back there?
So you're saying that the outside walls that are up now at the high school,
There's no outside walls that are up right now.
well,
Yeah,
the big
area
walls,
Area
No,
the concrete
Oh.
walls on the high school side.
There's forms up, but there's no concrete inside.
Okay, what
I don't think we have to.
what concrete are you talking
It's
about
not
on the
our
high school side?
The walls are all gonna be 4,500.
Right, so we can
Talking
continue
about
with that,
Yeah.
because it's a 100-year thing. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So if I can add something, and it might be out of place, but, up front, we understood where this project was budget. Everything was outside of budget, right? We looked at maps. It was $150 a truck to get anybody out of Hope. Huge, deficit in just trucks. The 4,000 that Matt had and the history he had on 4,000 makes 564 pounds of seat, right? So looking at that history, it was accepted. So now we're using the safety, basically the safety poundage in that mix to meet a higher resistance strength. So we're taking 5,000 or 4,000, trying to meet a 4,500. We're having some issues here, and now I'm on the hook out of my pocket to extend a higher dollar mix that's gonna run me 15 grand or better. I haven't crunched the numbers, just to get 45 in the walls.
That's a conversation that's not part of this meeting, but I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, it was all, so we're talking about any kind of reimbursement. I'm not understanding that thought at all. I'm already taking the impact.
Well, none of the concrete right now is even come close to 4,000, so that's a different discussion. Yeah, we don't need to have that discussion here.
So I think it is a pertinent discussion, because if you're talking about compensation, are we gonna be compensated for the fact that UES is not performing per specifications?
Matt, right now, there's nobody that's tested to meet the spec. So I don't think you should be saying anything about.
So I'm saying everybody's involved.
Meets that. Why is it being questioned then?
What's that?
If the test batches are showing that it's meeting that, and we have to bring in testers to fully understand, that shouldn't be something we should endure. If they're not doing their job, and we have to call in somebody else, what does that gain?
It is not.
Real
These
quick.
guys need to have a conversation with UES, but right now, it's not just that UES hasn't met any breaks on that, met specs on their requirements. None of these guys have come back with test results that have met the specifications.
Real quick, 28-day results on the first and second test core. Test core number 1, which my understanding was a 9-inch slump,
12% there.
was 2,000, and then the second test core, when things were corrected, they were 3,900. So that's 3,900 at 7 days. My
From
understanding. UES.
What were the ones from Penco?
I believe they were 4,180.
What was the first company?
UES. So they're within 280, I think was the first.
What were the 28 days you said?
That was 28 day.
I mean, we certainly have to get down to what's going on with UES, but
None of the numbers have come in where we want them.
so somebody else over here had a question.
I just had a red flag on the man on the phone said that would be adequate. And for me, that word is red flag because if I remember right, the school, the commons, when that was all done, they told us that it was done adequate. So I have a red flag with the word adequate. I just want to make sure that maybe the word needs to be changed because I don't like that. I'm not paying for adequate.
Glad you said that. So,
Okay.
Ken, do you want to address that?
The question was about 2,500 PSI. Is that what the question was?
That you said 2,500 was adequate. Well, nobody wants to pay for adequate. We want something that's going to last 100 years. Do you have any problem with that on this concrete in every?
So, yeah, I can rephrase what I said. If we were to originally design the concrete as 2,500 PSI, it would meet the design requirement, outside of the durability and the extra things we talked about today.
I gotta leave my eyes alone.
Okay, so what did the contract say? Did it say 3,500? Did it say 4,000? Or did it say 3,500?
Said 4,500 and 3,500.
Okay, so that would be like going over to Mike and buying a Lincoln and him roll out a blue oval and say, it's good enough because it'll still get you to and from. We paid for 3,500, that's what we need. If we're going to say, I understand the time crunch and project schedule, all of this stuff, okay? If we're saying we're going to accept 2,500 for that, we need to be crystal clear on what we're giving up for 1,000 PSI.
Yeah.
And I can assure you, it's not nothing.
Yeah, so and we're coming in closer to 3, but I know where you're coming from. Specs at 3,500, you want to get what you paid for, right? The problem is that, our engineer specified 3,500, but 2,500 more than works for the long term without giving up any durability. And if you have to go back and this goes to court and you've got a structural engineer from the insurance company saying, why'd you tear this concrete out? Because if we say, well, didn't meet 3,500 PSI, they're going to come back and they're say, well, structural requirement is 2,500, and 2,500, your structural engineer has said meets all the requirements that is actually required. You can come back on the school to pay for it. And really, I don't have a problem with it. Our structural engineer doesn't have a problem with 2,500 PSI, knowing that it's going to last 100 years. I actually went back on some of my old projects that I've done. When we did the Remington and the Andale school top loader gyms, just like this one. Also ground concrete, they specified 4,000. In 2006, when we did the Marion one, all that spec was 3,000. So, I mean, it just comes down to the fact that, originally our engineer specified 4,500 because he didn't want to have to second guess, or these guys have to second guess what area they're pouring. So, I understand the optics of it, and I understand, and that's why I'm saying maybe there needs to be some compensation for it, but just please understand that it's not a structural issue, a durability issue, or a long-term or longevity issue. So
why didn't you just go look at Matt and say, make up a list?
Well,
if that's what you're saying, if I pay you for X and you give me Y, you owe me the difference.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
But you can't pay me 1,000 PSI for 100 years.
Well,
But
the question
my
is,
point,
is it necessary? Yeah, I hear you.
and I don't care what the book says, as long as we're above that standard. Once you write it, you get a contract, once you write it down, that's what we have to meet.
I hear you.
So, okay. What else was I gonna say? And the other thing is, Matt, I get where you're coming from, I get where you guys are coming from, but most of this conversation is between you two to figure it out. You know, with me as a taxpayer, I know that if that yellow rope is the standard, if we're on that side of it, we're good. If we're not on that side of it, we're not. And that's what it really boils down to is once, you know, you guys are the ones that figure out and are in control of your, money oversight. That's not my problem. That's y'all's problem.
Right.
So just make those numbers right and I'm happy.
Just understand that we are not doing anything to cut corners in any way, shape, or form.
Could you go over like how this has affected the timeline of the project and what's the plan now?
So obviously we've got to understand the final kind of decision here so we can plug it into the schedule. Right now I can add a couple worst case scenarios in there. Obviously we're supposed to be done with elementary in August, so students can transfer over into there. Right now, just showing worst case scenario, we were in there around August, but obviously we've got to do some more testing. I have to update that. I can't answer fully without having that answer and being able to plug it into that schedule, but I can definitely do that as soon as possible. And once we kind of know, the original plan was elementary wing first. That keeps that rolling while Colby's in there doing the concrete and the walls, because the gym is the main driver for the high school. You have to build those walls up before you can start on the classroom wing or the kitchen or the cafetorium, because that's what you have to backfill against. So if we're able to move forward in the gym, we got to plug that in. And obviously, yes, we're on week 5 now, week 6 of this delay, so it is going to have some effects there, but we'll just have to get it in that schedule and run a real life scenario if we are allowed to proceed tomorrow.
So what about the current gym? Is there
current gym is being used for, you're talking the existing gym? That's being used for practices right now, so that wouldn't be until around spring break when we can get back in there, because that's where we've talked. We'll have to get in through there periodically to run. All of our connections come from the electrical room and maintenance rooms in area C, which is by the cafetorium. It runs through area B, which is the existing gym. But right now, Pete and Brian on site have it set up to where they can utilize the gym for practices throughout the school year. So you'll see it's kind of got it fenced off and safed off, so students and staff can enter and exit safely for the fire marshal. But the plan would be basically after spring break, once practices are wrapping up, to get in there along with the BOAG next summer.
It was mentioned that you guys hadn't seen numbers this low before. Why wasn't anything said on May 22nd after the first quarter, the 7-day rate?
What's that? Why wasn't anything said after the first low break on 7 days?
Typically, waiting for 28 days for 100%. I mean, it's a two-way street. I mean, Coley could ask us for information. Matt,
Who was getting the test results though? Who
I don't know
got the
if we had
test
added
results
at
from
that
UES?
point. I'd have to go back and look.
You don't know?
He doesn't remember it off the top of his head, so I think it's what he's saying, but I think to their point is if you do have a break test, probably meets back in 7 days, you do wait for this 28-day test. I mean, that's pretty standard.
In the moment we were hitting 28 days right before structural steel was going up, those questions were asked to the design team because we knew, hey, we're not at 100% at 28 days. We know we have steel going up in area A, what they were supposed to start on the 7th? Yeah. 7/7 to start raising steel on that south side, and we stopped them, had them pause before we didn't have the answer back from the engineer just yet. So we wanted to coordinate with them to make sure we were following the correct process. And that's really where, okay, we're not 100% at that 28 days. So this is what's driving the cores per ACI in that manual.
Okay, on the 28th day though, it was June 12th. We weren't made aware of it until the end of June, like June 28th. So why is that?
We'd have to go back and look.
And the testing that happens, just so you understand, is that if you do have low breaks and they don't meet specs, the next step is to do additional testing. So you have to get additional testing done, and then you have to determine if you do have 3 tests that come back that meet 85% of that, then the ACI manual says you're okay. And it takes time to get you guys out here to do the testing, and so.
So you guys had planned to call somebody else in?
Yeah, I think that's when they started. Well, I'm not sure if you can buy somebody else, but.
Yeah, more testing.
They started having the testing done to where we could get the other tests done to see if it met the 85%. I don't remember exactly what the emails were from back and forth in June. Have to go back and look at those emails. But we can show them to you. I'm not, we'll just say, we're gonna be transparent. We're not hiding anything.
I just want to make notice to the public on the UES testing. This is more of a comment than more of a question. If they started doing their testing correctly, per spec on site, we would have answers on a lot of this scenario. I just want to make that very clear. If they were failing at that site, if they're doing their testing correctly, we would have answers, more answers, I should say. And right now, that they didn't do their spec, and we need to take that into account on the public side, be transparent about that, because that is a vital point that we probably wouldn't be here if they did their testing correctly at the beginning. Now, if it would have failed, that's when you bring in the extra testing, and that's where we probably would have been here. But if they would have started that, we would have had more answers at the beginning to have a better understanding of where we're at.
Said it was a comment. I'm not sure you're asking for a response, but I can't speak to how they did or did not do their testing for specs.
Anybody else?
One more, if I may. Okay. So the testing companies, all three, well, at least UES were out there taking samples out of the truck or the pump. Okay. All right. Hopefully that was all done correctly. It doesn't sound like it was. That's a bad deal. All right. But when you look at these test results, and I'm going with Matt's son's comments a little bit, Greg, if you look at those test results, this is based on my experience, all right, knowledge, my education. There were subtle flags there. So my more specific question is, was there, after that testing of gathering that sample of concrete for the cylinders, and they did a unit weight, a slump in there, right? Okay, so after that was done, was at some point in time, did they do, like start checking it every 3-4 yards for the plastic properties, unit weight, the air, and the slump? Just to keep an eye on that, was it necessary?
No. We'd have to test it every 3 or 4 yards.
Huh?
Not every 3 or 4 yards.
Not every 3 or 4 yards. I said every 3. I said every 2 or 3 trucks, based on the red flags. There were subtle red flags in that information. Matt, you may agree or not. But
if it would have been known, then yes, absolutely, there should have been.
All right, I'm standing up for you.
And I'm saying I agree 100%. That's why we brought in.
It's important to test the water, your aggregate pile, the condition of your trucks. You get it.
Absolutely.
All right. I know you do. Right. All right. So what I'm getting at is, if you're watching the slump in the air and the weight, there could have more closely, and this is hindsight, Greg, you can get an idea of how well that's being produced in consistency. All right. the math, this is a little bit telling on you, to be honest with you. But there was 2 3-yard batches done at some date and time. All right, there was one test that they followed through with. The other one they didn't because the error was like 12%. Correct me if I'm wrong. It kind of makes sense not to test it because you know it's going to break low. All right, but they did get one theoretically good deal. But the fact that that error was 12% raises questions.
Are you saying on like the test batch?
Something happened. Something happened.
There was a
with that
correction
dosing.
factor that was not figured in on.
Pardon me?
There was a correction factor on the moisture of the sand that was not figured in on that test properly.
There you go.
Okay,
I got a quick question, Wiener.
okay.
If we're 6 weeks behind, how does that affect the rest of the contractors, like the electricians and stuff, from this job to the next job?
Obviously, we've had to stay in contact with them this entire time and have updates to them. Obviously, we've got a crane sitting on site right now. I'm sure you've noticed.
Yeah.
That obviously comes with costs and ensuring that we can get them back. The biggest thing is keeping in contact with them as much as possible, saying, hey, this is where we're at. This is when we're anticipating to start back up. Luckily, Goldie's been there, obviously involved in here, so they're prepped and ready to go tomorrow. But
Is there anything in the contract, say for the electrician, if they're not on by this date, they're not held responsible for doing the job afterwards since it's delayed?
Can you rephrase that?
Well, say I'm the electrician and I was supposed to be here this date, but we're 6 weeks late. So I had another job scheduled. Do I still have to do this job if it was a delay because it's not my
Right,
fault?
because it's not on you. Yeah, so that's where the communication with those folks is. Yeah, it's just continuing to keep them in the loop on where we stand so that they
Do
know.
they have the ability to back out on that kind of reason or not?
No.
And I think a job this size, most of them wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do that.
and they're all very trusted trade partners that, I mean, like, I think Pete talks to them. The electrician's been on site, working on everything they can get done. I think someone asked about Area B. We have to replace panels inside of there, getting everything prepped and ready for that. Working on some grandstand power tomorrow. So it's just coordinating with them and making sure, obviously, we're doing our job to make sure everybody can get there as quickly as possible. Obviously, if there's fixes, something like that, we've just got to coordinate with them and say, hey, we need you to come back and get it done.
So when we talk about the financial side of this, that's the only part I'm just kind of curious about, is that Greg just mentioned that like any change order would not be at the burden of the district. So I just, mild clarification, where does the burden lie? Is insurance, like insurance held by the contractors, insurance held by the engineer? I'm just curious how it works.
Yeah, it's a conversation between accounting board and their trade partners. Yep.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on. You need our permission to get going? You need our permission to get going?
Yes, and that's why I'm here.
Yep.
I want to make a comment.
Yes, sir, go right ahead.
This makes, how many times did we get information a couple of days before we have to make decisions? I am uncomfortable as hell making decisions without having time to digest what has been presented. To me, there's no excuse for that.
I think
that's my personal opinion, and I'm not going to vote for something unless I have a thorough understanding of what is involved. Do we have to make a decision tonight?
To get them going on the gym, we need a decision.
Wow.
But I think a lot of it was because they were still trying to work out a scenario to keep moving, what we need to do.
And Terry, I had information today, I had information late last week that changed where I was headed. I was trying to find a solution that we weren't gonna have to do any of this, but at the end of the day, the information we had, I didn't feel comfortable with that. That changed even with the information we had today, so I understand wanting time, and especially as it's not your wheelhouse, it's not something you do every day. And so, I don't know how to get around that, but situations like this, we don't have a week ahead of time to get you the information you need. That's not gonna change.
Well, didn't you send out an email last Tuesday?
I sent out a preliminary, some preliminary thoughts last Tuesday, yeah.
And we
But
didn't,
it all changed.
most of us didn't get the information till Friday evening.
Because it all changed between Tuesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Friday. And it changed again from Friday to this afternoon. It even changed from 4:30 this afternoon, we were talking, to right before this meeting. And Jordan left and came back, and I had to update him on some things that were discussed that, yeah, this is not a simple deal.
I'll make a comment on my comfort level of moving forward. I guess I'm uncomfortable moving forward until the question is answered. Do we have a testing issue or do we have a concrete issue? And to me, that's all it boils down to, is it's one of those has got to be the problem. And until we know that, how do we know what direction to move?
Jordan, you may have two.
It could be both.
Yeah, it could be both.
Could
And
be.
that petro analysis will tell the story. I've seen them. I understand them. They're thorough.
That's a good question, Jordan.
I know time is of the essence, and me naturally, I'm a slow thinker. I like to digest it as well. I don't know what to do. I don't have a problem saying that because that's how I feel. But there is a problem, and how do we move forward? Kind of like you said, sir. Is the answer just I don't know? There is no answer.
Does everybody feel comfortable with the tests on the north side?
No, I will say no.
I would have to agree with Jordan. I hate to say that, I hate to slow it up any.
I hate it too. Sorry.
No, we're good. I have to agree with Jordan. This isn't a.
You don't either?
This isn't a.
We got a $40 million project out here, and I want it done right.
Okay. How do you feel on the north side, Matt?
I feel that it's more than acceptable on the north side and on the south side. The only thing that I'll say is I won't, from my perspective, it's not worth it moving a further inch with UES as the testing facility.
I understand that.
There's enough data and proof that it is not worth it because it has put us in this scenario.
Yep.
How many cores are out of square, you know?
Well, there's a bucket here of the ones that, thank goodness, Mark drove and picked up.
Good.
To see that it is not all of them, but it's enough cores to show that the lack of regard from the field test to the lab is the issue.
Here, could be.
But then at the same time, the cores that got drilled and pulled were all done incorrectly as well.
I'm not saying they're done incorrectly or not. I'm saying that there is.
So if they're not done incorrectly, then what is?
They are influenced by more errors than that.
Well, should you be able to get a core that reaches what it is designed to reach? Is that even possible?
The conversations that I've had is, to start with, they are off the top. Take 15% off that number. If you have a core, a design that should be 4,000 psi, take 15% off of that. That's in spec. The second thing is, and I'm pretty new to the core aspect of it right now as well, but the engineers that I've talked to are the individuals that are
So
very
they should-
well versed in cores. They have personally not had any good experiences with cores testing in a good fashion.
So I mean, 15% off, they should still be getting to 3,800.
And I'm not arguing that.
That's just where I
want
don't
that answer too.
understand the whole thing. I'm not trying to throw blame anyway. I don't know. This doesn't make sense to me, who doesn't understand the whole thing to begin with. Like I'm not involved in any of this. So.
And I'm just stating facts.
Everybody's got to
Facts
feel comfortable moving forward. And at this point, it's hard to feel comfortable with that many people doing testing, getting low results, whether they're the same or not.
And that's understanding the variables that have to be considered.
Sure.
The north side is testing good. Per standards, industry standards. Amber, what's your thoughts?
Well, I don't pretend to understand any of this, but, I mean, my decision lies with the experts. I mean, what would you do? I mean, what is your expert opinion?
Well,
I mean, you've given it basically for the north side. I feel comfortable with that, but I don't know about the south side.
So the north side, those numbers that you wrote up there on the cores, I don't remember the date on Cobb Valley, but the Terracon ones were broke before the 28-day results.
We just got those back. You want to go ahead, Taylor? Or Zachary? I guess my question, kind of, Andrew's point is, I understand not being comfortable. What would you want to see us do moving forward to make you comfortable? I don't know that we're ever going to get tests to come back to meet 3,500. We've got tests that meet well over 2,500. And so, are you wanting to see additional testing done? And these were done by Cobb Valley, so.
I mean, honestly, that's a problem for you and the town and the trade partners to figure out, not really the board to figure out.
Well, I mean,
correct?
we presented you the information that meets 2,500 criteria, and I don't know what else. I mean, we could wait for that spectrograph test and see what it comes back with. That was done on area A, right? Not area G. And so, if you guys want us to do more testing, come back with that. We can. I don't know what other options we have to come back with more information for you. And I understand too, do you need a few days to digest it a little bit more? Because I know it's all in. So.
How long would it take to get a spectrograph on the north side?
That one is
I'm just asking.
That one is.
They say much more testing.
The petrograph it's like a week to 2 week test.
Okay, that's what,
and that's assuming
if you
can get into a lab.
Yeah, that's just to perform the test.
And it is.
to perform it, and you have to wait how long?
It is
months.
And you have to get it into a lab is not.
We originally were going
not
to get
easy.
that back till October.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, it's we're looking at least a month to 2 months.
This petrograph was accelerated because of the gravity of the situation.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, like, I'm like, because we haven't tested.
May I go again?
Okay.
Okay. Question for you, Matt. Would you agree that making 4,000 PSI concrete is easy?
Based off of over 2,000
Off of proper testing.
Absolutely.
There you go.
We've performed tests that for state certification. We've performed tests across the board that is met.
Yeah. Are you aware that there's a comment in one of UES's reports referring to cracking between the cement paste and the aggregate?
I believe I read that.
Okay, that's an important statement to consider.
I'd like to address that because I agree with you on that if I was seeing that on samples that were done per specifications, I would be the first one to raise a flag.
It's actually pretty easy to do a visual after these cylinders are tested for compressive strength. You just open up and you look at the end. If the aggregate has fractured, as far as the testing procedure, you're fine. If the aggregate is coming out, you'll see it, and you'll see the aggregate break away from the cement paste, which is the glue that holds this together. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right, so the question is did they really look closely? I'm trying to help you, mostly.
So it's a little more in depth than that, and it gets into a level of different types of aggregate, different shapes of aggregate,
You're talking about angularity.
It gets a lot deeper than that, and I guarantee.
But it's an indication. It's a first indication. So I don't know if that was even looked at or commented.
Well, regardless, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know that I can ever say that somebody can do a visual compression test and say that was adequate. I can understand how somebody with experience look at it and say, yeah, I've seen that before, but probably compressor strength test is a test that we have to go by. And so, yeah, that's, if you guys need more time, I certainly respect that. Just not sure what information we can come back that's going to be different, except for that test.
I think we've done all the testing we can do. My personal self, I'm not happy with the test by no means. I have faith in you guys and your expertise and the guys behind you guys. I'd like to keep moving forward.
I mean,
Megan, have you got any comments?
I'm very similar in feelings as far as we have to rely on the testing that we have. I don't think Matt's wrong. If we need a second testing thing or testing company, then that's something that we need to look at as well. But we got to keep moving forward, especially when it's just costing us money, but ensuring where it's getting tested while we're doing it and watching those red flags and then being notified of it.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I don't understand why we wouldn't move forward if 2,500 is acceptable.
I have a question.
Why would we not?
And it's on basically what he just said.
I mean, how is that going to cost less?
Is the 2,500 PSI, when this school is being built, does it fall under the residential or does this fall under some kind of commercial code?
It's all commercial.
It's all commercial. So commercial code says 2,500.
Yes.
As well as residential code.
I don't even know what the residential code says. So, but the commercial is all for structural concrete.
And the problem with the grade school side is the freeze thaw factor.
Correct.
Which the footer has insulation all the way around it, correct?
It has 2 inches of insulation all the way around. So, I mean, that is one thing we looked at is, that does prevent water from penetrating that to a certain degree, but I can't guarantee you that it prevents it 100%, so I can't just rely on that. So I looked at trenching out, waterproofing, putting additional insulation in there, but I just don't think that's a 100-year solution. And I have these guys have absolutely zero reason to accept any liability for any recommendation we give you. And so we're not going to come to you guys with anything that we feel is in any way compromising the project.
So
anything else?
Your recommendation then is to move forward on the north side and wait for additional testing on the south. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
Everybody good? Questions? Question?
Nope, done.
Tim? Probably.
Probably questions.
More questions?
I'm kind of like Jordan, I gotta process it out. I mean, it's what it is.
I'm gonna make a motion that we proceed on the north side and wait till we have more testing on the south side before we do any more construction. Is there a second?
I second it.
There's a motion and a second to proceed on the north, wait on the south. Construction, all those in favor?
I'm going to
Yes.
abstain from the vote.
Motion fails.
Did it pass? Okay, good.
What's our next step now?
I think our next step is wait for that test to come back. It's gonna take a couple of weeks at least.
Okay,
And, so, I don't think there's any other additional vendors.
do we need to do any more testing before it gets back on the south side or?
Oh, I think you can proceed with doing the testing on the south side, yeah.
Okay. Okay,
How about on the north side?
I'm not sure what other tests there are, Jerry. I mean, we've had 4 companies do tests on that side. The last one is Claw Valley, and honestly, we're kind of running out of testing efficiencies. Because, one that Claw Valley was done is the one that, the patch plan and the concrete trade partner, agreed to. And so we all have agreement, right, that that's the one that, we are, all on the same page with, and they did the test, apparently according to the spec, and so we're not gonna get any other test results. I mean, you could wait another 30 days, I guess, and do another test by them and see if it increases in strength, because concrete should keep increasing in strength, but,
Well, it's supposed to be 3,500, right?
it's supposed to be.
At 28 days.
Well, that test was done after 28 days.
Those were?
Yeah.
How, right on 28?
You guys can.
Or how many days?
Too late. We have to go back and look off the top.
That's important. Because it's backed by your contractor, and I know about it and understand. It's 3,500,
It was 28 days, right?
28 days. All right.
We have yet to receive that formal report.
Pardon me?
We have yet to receive that formal
Understand.
report from Call Valley.
Understand.
so and the other deal is that, like you stated earlier, we're above the industry standards. So basically, there's no recourse of action anyway.
Yeah.
Not on the north side.
Yeah, on the north side. So if we would go to court, a judge would sit up there and say, it's met the standards.
There's nothing from a legal standpoint that
Correct.
I think you could go back to anyone and say, you gave us a substandard product that's gonna fail.
So-
That has any problems, but that doesn't mean you got what you paid for. It doesn't mean you got what you.
Correct. But that also states that if we tried to go back and say, okay, Greg, we don't like this, we want you to tear it out and redo it, we're gonna pay for it ourselves. Okay, just so everybody understands that.
What date was the Colorado Valley taken?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't know.
Yeah.
Like how many days, how many days was it there?
If I remember right, it's August 4th.
We don't have the official report back yet, that they just posted those recently.
And that was done by the concrete trade partner. That wasn't done through the school or through the county.
So the break date was on 8/4, so August 4th, so they would have been taken a week before that. So I believe it's 7/29. July 29 would have been the core date. July 29.
Oh.
So is that what was for July
2nd?
1st or 2nd?
Somewhere there. Yeah, second.
So right at 20 days.
Well, two. Which from the west.
I mean, somebody asked a question earlier, why wouldn't we move forward? It's like, I've been in the board's shoes. You have people who aren't used to dealing with this and need time to think about it. Because the onus is on them to do it too, right? I mean, you guys have to, I shouldn't say the onus is on you, but you're making a decision for the public and it's not to be taken by the board.
True, but if there's no legal action can be taken, us taxpayers are gonna pay if we tear it up and start over.
Right, it's gonna cost more
Well, I mean,
the longer you wait, right?
potentially.
Yeah.
Good.
So should UES be accountable for any of this because of them not meeting their spec during testing?
There's a lot to discover before that decision is made. I'm not saying that's out of the question, but that's, I don't think anybody has gotten to that depth of being able to place blame for this.
No, we want more answers than we want blame.
Well, I think that goes back to my question is, do we have a testing problem or do we have a concrete problem?
Well, we know we have a testing problem.
Good data there.
I mean, we know we have a testing problem, but
Okay, so then,
And I want the
How do we get there?
Petrograph will,
okay,
that's going to identify the concrete.
You're committed to not hauling anything until this is settled, right, Matt?
I'm committed to not hauling anything if UES is a testing facility on
Okay.
site.
Okay, gotcha. Fair enough.
I have an understanding, I have a team out here tomorrow, right, moving forward with product. You don't call them that.
No, they didn't approve it, Mark.
Nope.
That's not approved.
Nope.
Greg, haven't you pretty much said that we're not going to, you've already crossed UES is off the board? So.
UES has a contract with the district. The district voted to use UES. It was bid out to 3 different parties for special inspections or third-party testing. UES was the low competent bidder at the time that the district voted to use them as a third party. So if there is truly question about UES testing, then the district will have to amend that contract with UES and find another third-party tester.
I've got a question. So by not moving forward on the north side, what other option is there short of tearing it all out and redoing it? Are there any other options on the north side?
No.
And that would cost much money.
well,
Yes.
the option is just, you guys just hearing this like in the last hour or two. The option is that they need to think it through and they want to make an educated, informed decision they've had time to digest and think about. And so that doesn't mean we can't come back here in 2 or 3 days and make the decision to move forward on north, but
that's kind of where I'm at. If we have to have a special meeting and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I don't know what I'll feel that way, but
We're all about special meetings.
I would like some additional
Time.
input, some additional thoughts, prayers.
they may come back and maybe they come up with some other questions that they want to ask us, and Eric, you can go through Eric, and that we can try and answer, and just to get a better comfort level, to move forward. But it doesn't mean we can't move forward the way, we are on the north, the way, and keep everything on the north side. It just means
We're waiting.
more time.
And we do enjoy input from everybody, so. Call your board members.
Mark, how does that affect your crew and being back in scheduling?
We're gonna need a 5-minute break.
Or 3 days.
Yeah, I've got 3 days slated.
For this week,
Yeah.
if they are not here this week, they are redirected to a different project, I would assume. So that would be difficult. It's difficult to redirect them here again.
For this week.
Hypothetically, next week.
Hypothetical when?
Hypothetically, being able to get them back next week
Possibly.
is a possibility.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
So Wiener, okay. Am I getting it that we're backing off is it, and I understand George's question, but we're backing off of the north side, which has been given the okay. Is it because we want to make sure that it isn't the concrete or it isn't the testers? And is it because it's a 3,500 or 2,500 that we acquiesce to? That we want what we're getting paid for? Is it those two questions? So we backed off of that, and then Matt's gonna have that testing, what's it called? But anyway, and I understand that, I'm all for that. So we're backing off, it sounds to me like it's a testing, and if it comes back one way or another, we're putting everything in our basket of not moving ahead on the north side, because we wanna see how the testing ends up on the south side. And if it shows, the testing shows, hey, everything's cool on the south side, then it's gonna be gung ho, right? Am I off base there? I think that's what's scaring most of us is I understand, is it concrete, or is it testing, or is it both, or is it none?
I don't think we're
But
ready.
I think we're backing off of the north side because we wanna see what the testing on the south side does.
I don't
And I
think,
understand that. Matt needs every bit of that testing done.
I don't think we're ready to commit to, because the test comes back, okay, we're going forward on the south side yet, we need to see what we really need to see what it is. I mean, I don't wanna come to any conclusions like that yet, until we see what the test says.
Right, and if it comes back good, then we're gung ho.
Yo.
If that comes back good, if that test comes back good and it shows we're up to specs or more than we want to pay for, then we're gung ho. Yes?
I gotta see what that test says.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move to go to a 10-minute recess.
10.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion for 10 minutes and a second. All those in favor? It's break time, people. Okay, we lost Tim. We're gonna go back in. There he is.
Found him.
Go back in, I've lost my schedule. We're back in session. Everybody feels better. We will move on to 26-014, number B, letter B. Policy update on JBC part-time enrollment. This is the second reading. We do need to approve it, correct?
Yes.
All right.
So,
There.
we went through this last month, and it's,
Can you close that first door there, please? Thank you.
So it had to do,
No,
no,
Thank you.
it just has to do with the part-time enrollment. Jeff kind of presented this.
I guess the biggest thing was looking at the policy online. We didn't have that first regular day of school. We just didn't have an established time on when they needed to complete paperwork if they were going to be part-time students. So just assigning that to it.
So that's all you had, it was first regular day of class.
Yeah, yes. And we have to allow the part-time enrollment, and then the policy just, plays out. We'll allow it, we'll accommodate to the best of our abilities and to capacities and everything like that, so.
Questions, anybody? Look good to everybody?
This is the second reading, so.
We have a motion.
Mr. President, I'll move to accept the JBC part-time enrollment as presented.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion passed.
Do we have one for Megan?
Oh, sorry.
Matt, I assume you voted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Megan, you there?
Yeah, I vote for it.
Okay, we're all in favor. Motion passed. BC, preliminary budget figures.
All right, I'll go through these, real quick, as fast as I can anyways. I wasn't expecting it to be 9 o'clock when we got here. That was my fault.
I did.
Anyways.
Copy of that or?
No.
Okay.
No, in the board packet online, there's a copy of the codes for you. If you want us to print it off, we'll be happy to, but we typically in September give you like the book. So, anyways, we went over last month our valuation, so those are the same. And then we went over the what we get per pupil, which is $56.15, and that general fund LOB is $56.92. Then our adjusted FTE 363, and then general fund authority at 724.3, and that's just based off of what our multipliers and things like that are based off of. Either way on that, if we go up a little bit or we go down, our audit at some point this year will correct that. And so we do try to budget ahead of it just because so we don't have to republish and things. So we have a general fund budget of $4,066,067, and then on the general fund, then LOB of $4,117,552, and at 33% of that is where we get our LOB at, or that's what we get it at. So what generally happens, my first year, we actually thought we were on the verge of having to republish general fund, and it ended up our special ed was cut. which we were expecting, but it was a little bit more than what we expected. Every other year, it's been 40 or 50,000. Last year was more, and that had to do mostly with lower at-risk numbers than what we were expecting. So we try to hit that spot on. We'll have to look at our enrollment numbers. We could give you those pretty close, which I believe we're pretty close to last year. But there's always some people who don't enroll till the first day of school, so we don't necessarily have that right yet. Required transfers, we went over that last time as well, but those numbers haven't changed on anything that we've done. So SPED is in general fund is 383,600, at risk 367,221. LOB is 8968, at risk 120,253, and SPED 128,542.
Good question.
Yep.
How much do we get that we have to send on to Oakley? Do we know that number? 'Cause I know we get money that's supposed to be at Oakley, and I just wondered if that was ever in this.
Yeah, it is.
So it's in this and then gets taken, pulled out of me.
Yeah, like there's money that's just passed through us.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a chunk on that, and then there's a chunk too that we pay beyond that as well.
Okay.
I believe
There's a spreadsheet, Tim, on KSD that splits it out, like each of our 5 payments, how much we send on.
That's fine. I just didn't know what that amount was or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it just kind of was filtered through us to appease the congressman, saying that they are fulfilling their part of it when they're not really.
And honestly, that's what the SPED on the LOB is for too, just to say they're fulfilling that as well. To be honest with you. So for LOB, just with several factors in, the biggest is we're increasing our state aid. It goes from 115,484 to 145,391. We're actually decreasing just a hair. I mean, it's not very much, but just a tiny bit. So that's a factor. I'm sorry, I lost my thought on that, but so that's not too much of a change on it. So and I meant for us to have 2 screens. I asked Chandler if we could put 2 screens up, and it didn't sound like it would work. So Code 1 is just an overview of expenditures and taxes to be levied. Code 2 is the dates of resolution for capital outlay and rec commission. I believe rec commission was done in about 04, sometime in there, and then capital outlay, I can't remember the date on that, to be honest, but it was, when it was done for forever, basically. And it doesn't mean that's what we have to do. It means that we've been authorized to do it forever. General fund. So general fund is one where we start at 0. There are a couple. I went to the State Department, was it last Thursday or the Thursday before? Thursday before. That there's a couple things that they have. One is in general fund. We had a PO that was canceled, or a return check. Yeah, the 288. So they're telling us that I can't remember exactly, but it would basically reduce our what we expect from the state by $288 is what it's saying. So, and then but with general fund, you don't want a balance on there, because that just takes away from your next year's state aid. So regardless, that wasn't something we could change or anything like that. So, but we have transfers from food service of 20,000, professional development 5,000, sped is 383,800, I believe, or 600, excuse me, and then at risk of 367,221. And then federal funds. This is the end of, we ended all COVID money last year, so when we've been negative, I mean, I think it's been between $100,000 and $250,000, which is we're allowed to because it's a federal fund. But so that's where our starting balance is. Revenues are a lot less than what we've had, and then expenditures. But basically, the way federal funds work, our funds are spent, then requested, and then sent to the district. Last month when we met, if you remember, we talked about how we were worried about Title II and IV and just those funding. Those have been released, so we're not as worried about that now. We were also worried about Title I, just we weren't quite sure if that was included or not. Our numbers are smaller, what we can expect. At 15,000 or it may be closer to 20,000, but that's more manageable than the 80 to 100 that we were worried about last month. So we can deal with that. LOB, our starting balance is 88,283. This is another one that we're going to talk to the state again about. We have a miscellaneous fund or revenue that we've been putting in there, and they're telling us that we need to spend that balance. This has never been an issue before, so we don't know why that is. So that's why we need some clarification. Technically, that if you spend your full authority, that would reduce your balance by another $11,000, and I don't know that we want to do that. Just that made a couple years ago we didn't completely spend our LOB, and that was partially to help with our mill levy. So I need to re-talk with the state on that. And then the expected transfers to those. So our expenditures are, what we have authority to have right now. So so bilingual's 40,000, food services 85, professional development 15, sped 285, CTE 200,000, at risk 200,000. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up coming up at the end of the year. We do not have to stay at those numbers, even though that's where we put them at the beginning. It's just at that point at the end of the year, it's managing where it makes the most sense. So these are a comparison of the mill rates between last year and this year. So the only change is that tiny bit in LOB that's reduced. So in general here, now we're going to go through the different codes. Every year when I've gone, they've always recommended to me that we spend all of our available money in our different budgets. And that's basically so that have the full authority of what we have, if that makes sense. Before, we'd always leave part of it in there. And so you'll see that the expenditures are way higher than what we would typically have, which is in parentheses on the expenditures. And that's just so we make sure we have the right authority so that in May and June we're not republishing. So starting balance is 151, almost 152. Revenues between the transfers are 567, 222, 221, and then that equals our total amount of expenditures. Now, On the budget, it has $0 left at the end of the year, but our goal is to be around 155. So we won't be expecting to spend that much. Bilingual, this is one that we're starting 4420, which is very similar to what we've had. Revenues are 40,000. Last year is 38,000, and I would suspect that we're closer to that, and maybe even. Actually, I think we transferred less out of there. By the time, that's one that we always gain some back. So like I said before, we have the expenditures, and last year the total amount of expenditures were 28,564. So when we're all said and done, we're estimated to be around 4,500. That would be the goal. Capital outlay. Now we're gonna have a little bit of a discussion here, just because this is so complicated. So the starting balance right now is $6,794,412. Revenues I have at $4,418,174, and that's because we're expecting from insurance here fairly quickly. Depreciation of the building. I've sent the contracts to the insurance adjuster. I've shown him what we've spent the funds on, to show that we've spent around $5-6 million. Actually, that's wrong because we added another one in there. But what we basically, depreciation is like when you insure your roof at home, you have a certain amount that they'll pay you, and then once you have proof, then they'll give you the rest. So we have about 1.2 million in that. The BPP is business personal property, and that's at $886,000. Time element, and then replacement. And we'll show those. So the expenditures are that total amount, which is 11,212,586. I did say that the ending balance is difficult to approximate, just because I don't know, like, we'll start using the insurance funds once the bond funds are gone. And so it's hard for me right now to say when exactly that is. In my mind, I have it that it won't be this year, but that doesn't mean that I'm right on that, because I just don't know yet. So I've told you last month that our capital outlay funds are $998,588. I do think I'm a little wrong, or I'm wrong on that. And I'll kind of go through why I feel like I'm off. So when you look at this spreadsheet that Emily did, let's see here. When you look at it, we should have the 6 million. $6,372,499, and that's on the insurance part right here, if that makes sense. So if you start off at 7 million, which is what we got, then our expenses, and then what we've gained in interest, and that's what this number is down here, because that takes into account the expenses and what we've gained in interest. So we are expecting what I was just going through, the depreciation of that amount, the time element, which is like any expenses like our modular payments, things like that. Replacement items are things that we've replaced, which is around $38,000. And then the BPP. And the reason it's not the 600 or the 886,000 that I was telling you before, is the depreciation. There's depreciation on that as well. So then we have our mill levy, which is somewhere around 420,000. So, expected revenues. Now we're gonna kind of get into the weeds a little bit here, and I'm saying this just so we have an idea of what we're looking at here in the next year or two. So at time element, we're expecting this 374,866. That's what the insurance. That's what we have turned into them right now. That is going to put our total at 1,639,520, which means we have 360,615. That doesn't seem right. I need to go back and look at that number. So what we're looking at is this amount of money minus, just through the process, we've paid a few months worth of like modular costs. But since we submitted the insurance for it, I'm estimating with what we're spending per month on time element, we have about a year left, about 12 months. Anything beyond that is we're gonna have to figure out where that's going to come from. Now, part of that too is we have dismantling. And on our leases, our first lease, which is the 8 classroom, the office, and 2 classroom, they have Box Modular has 195,000. The second lease, which is the remaining ones, are 112,000. So that's, shoot, I thought I had that number on there.
307.
307. Okay. That's what we're going to be looking at. Now the other part of that is that was done 2 years ago for the estimate. I don't know with inflation and things like that how much that's increased. So I just want the board to be aware that I'm gonna estimate right now 350,000 is what we're going to have. Then we went over the BPP. This is what we've claimed that we've already paid for. This is what's in process, and this is what we would get back after the depreciation. So our total is 886,554. Okay, so
quick question: do you have anything figured in for sales tax, or does that all just go to the bond?
That just goes to pay the bond. Okay, so I know my math isn't mathing. I know this isn't quite right, okay? On this 6,794,000, because when you say you have this much in this month, this much, it's over 7 million. So I was going through that today on it. So I think it's around $600,000 that we're off. And I'm using estimates here. I'm not getting very specific here, but when you take that we haven't been paid for this amount, that's over 400,000. Not much, but it's a little bit over 400,000. And then, is it 195,000 that we paid more than what we received for demo? It comes in, I think we're within $14,000. Does that make sense? We're actually over by 14,000. So that's where I'm guesstimating we're more at 798 instead of 998 because we have that that amount with from what we've received. That's the difference basically in the demo costs. Okay, so moving to the bond project or the building project, just with where we're at. And I got these numbers. Emily put together this spreadsheet for us. And so we're still working on it. We're getting it close. But we started off with $31,438,370.70. Now, the payments here, I'm off because Emily added some later on this afternoon. Didn't you add the July payments on there?
July payments were in there. I just added the interest.
Okay. I don't think I have.
27,551,864 is exactly what's in it right now.
27.
27,551,864.
Okay. And I don't think I got what.
Yeah, I think the interest is probably where.
Yeah.
That's not on there. Interest in July was 85,000.
So that's where we're different on it. So then moving to the bond account or the insurance account, this is our beginning balance, payments. This is what we've paid out, and all of those were before we received the bond money. They went mostly to the architect, the summer work to get the gym back going, and then a couple of the pre-engineering. So this is where I get the total amount. So I went through and like I said, I'm these numbers are a little off between what we've done here, but this is where we're at with our budget. This is what we've spent to date. This is it.
We've spent almost $6 million.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem possible, does it?
No, it doesn't. I mean, what have we got for $6 million?
So we had architect fees, the pre-engineering,
got some cookies,
the gym renovations, and then pretty much the rest of it are the construction costs.
Is this in a board folder on an Excel sheet?
This one is
like listed out?
Yeah. This one's the bond account. This one's capital outlay.
And you update this often?
Yeah, the bond accounts. Exactly what's in there.
Where is the sales tax revenue?
So Emily was looking at that today.
I mean, can that money be used to pay for any of these extra costs we're gonna have to?
No, because we need that to make our bond payments. So this is what we've received to date. One thing to remember on this, everything is 2 months behind. So the tax started in January. We got our first check in March.
What's that, 182,000?
Yeah.
For
5 months.
5 months?
Mm-hmm. Okay, the interest we've made, well, a little bit, $80,000 more, because I didn't have that last amount in there. And then Buffalo Strong, this was as of April when we looked at it. And then, so the depreciation and the BPP. And that's a total of where we're at now. And then the total revenue between the bond and the insurance for the project. So what we want to do next is take, this here was the budget that we passed in April when we did the GMP3, if you remember that. So that, and it was probably, you didn't probably see this was more from Barry. So these numbers align with what Barry gave us at that meeting. So what I'd like to do is take our expenses that we have in this and the interest that we're gaining and what we've paid to, and align it to this budget to show where we're positive and negative, if that makes sense. So that's the next step in the spreadsheet. And I think that'll help align everything to where everybody can keep track on it. Just as a kind of an FYI, so for the insurance, I said BPP, business personal property. In the construction realm, architect, they call the furniture, fixtures, things like that, FF&E. So that's, back then we were estimating 750,000 just off of what we were seeing. And so we're above that number, and that's good because we have some, like a library and some learning materials and things like that. And we need to make sure we're reconciling what that truly is. So that'll be something that we're working on here in the coming year. Any questions? Okay. The rest of the funds are a little bit easier to go through, but just driver training, same exercise basically that we've done, and the goal is to be around 9,500. And then we go to food service. Food service is a little bit different. We're allowed to be with a balance of about 3 months of expenses, and that's for us. An argument can be made that's around 120,000, basically. So we spend about 40,000 a month. So right now we're at 75,000 as our goal. So, excuse me, right now we're at 71,584. That's our starting balance with the goal of being around 75,000. Professional development. There's two things that happened with professional development. We spent more than what we typically do. I don't know if it was a mistake or misunderstanding. We had CPI training a year ago from the service center, and I think in the past we've done it, and I don't know if they didn't charge us or what, but we had all of our staff do it, and we ended up with about a $10,000 bill for it. So our typical, excuse me, I did not put that in there right. I apologize. I think the year before we were around 22,000. So I had a mistake there, so I apologize. So anyways, one thing with it, state funding was cut for the year. So there's no professional development, which is just a couple $1,000s. If you talk to, some people around the state, that's a signal that the legislators are not upholding the um, the funding formula, because that professional development and there's a couple other things that they're starting to cut that were included in that.
So Jeff and I did the professional development. We did good.
Did you pass?
We did not charge $10,000.
You haven't got the bill yet.
Nope. We're still working on it.
So, SPED is the next one. Same thing. Starting balance of 161,160 with the goal at the end of the year to be 165. I would maybe I should have done with the other funds. We spent 621 last year, 222. I think that was 14 or 15,000 more than the year before. So I would expect that again. But that's what we have. So CTE, this is a balance that we've lowered some over the year. Just it's one that we've kind of overdone, I guess is what you'd say. And so that's where we started. Revenues of 215,000 with expenditures last year at 131,784. So our goal would be to be around 140,000 at the end of the year. Capers is another one of those flow through that they, try to extend our budget, I guess. But it comes to us and then it goes right back to the state. What they tell us to spend is pretty much what we have to, and we budget it to make sure that we don't have to republish. So that was one where we actually went down from the year before. We were at like 418,000. So I don't know why that would be, but we must have had less staff last year. Textbooks, we don't have to budget, or this is not one that's budgeted. You just do your expenditures from the last 2 years, expenditures and revenue. One thing we need to start thinking about is our curriculums are going to start needing to be updated in the next year or two. We were before the fire on track to have a cycle, but those I think ELA was done my first year here, and then math. Yeah, I think it was getting implemented when I got here. And so then there's also the high school side. We've been able to take care of it through ESSER funds the last 5 years, but we don't have those anymore. So that's one of those things that's going to fall back to us. Code 99, that is what will be put in the newspaper. So this is code 99. We have our day of our board meeting, which is September 15th, and then our revenue neutral rate. And that was put into or sent to the county already. But one thing I also wanted to show you is our cash balance. I think this is pretty neat thing that the state does, and it's a recent thing. It was started at some point since I've been here, but it shows our cash balances. we're trending up till 2 years ago, and now we've kind of trended down a little bit. And that's just something we'll need to watch going forward. If you're wondering what funds they look at, they have it listed up here. And so it is preschool at risk, which we don't have that fund. At risk, bilingual, virtual education, which we don't have. Driver training, extraordinary school program, which we don't have. Professional development, parent education, and summer school, which we don't budget. SPED, CTE, contingency reserve, and textbooks and student material. One thing that we do is we have pretty large balances in these funds, which our contingency reserve, you can definitely make the case should be more, but it's more like they're tied up into these funds instead of just in the contingency reserve. So, let's see here. And then our hearings, the R&R is on the 15th at 5:30. Budget hearing is at 5:45, and the regular board meeting is at 6:30. So
that's the 15th.
Yeah.
Will we get pizza?
I was gonna say, is Jordan cooking burgers that night?
Chicken breast steak.
Tofu. Yes. Imitation meat.
Pure imitation
There
leather.
you go.
It's not bad. It tastes like beef.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah, that's all I have for the budget.
Questions?
Probably.
You don't need
Okay.
any action on that.
No, I don't need action.
We'll move on to district goals D.
Okay, so you have two sheets that look like this. One is from the 2024 school year, so last year, and one is for this year. Let's see here. That's all right. Either is that. There you go. All right, so I kind of just did a quick analysis of where we're at with the goals.
Too bad you couldn't put them side by side on two screens, huh? Couldn't help it, sorry.
So the long-term, the strategic planning, I've talked to KSAB, and basically we need to set a time frame. And it's going to take a couple of meetings for the community. It's going to take a couple of meetings for just the board. So I was kind of looking at November to January time frame and it has to work with their schedule too. So I didn't know what you guys thought, if you're kind of in agreement. We just need to get scheduled more than anything.
If you don't put it on a schedule, it'll never get done.
That works too. I'll try to do it for that time frame. And
I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
I've got stuff on here in 28 already.
So then goal 2, we had teaching positions. We're all filled except for high school math. And I'm talking teaching positions because we have a couple others that are opening. Enhanced systems to meet the learning needs of students. We'll kind of share some more of what we did today and yesterday, or Friday, excuse me. And then maintaining accreditation through KISA. We've achieved that, but it's something we're going to have every year. Finalized bond funds for the building project. That's completed. We did that in November. Finalizing contracts and starting construction. we completed the main part, but obviously that's still gonna be ongoing. 5 to 10 year transportation plan. Trevor's put together a pretty good plan, but just as I put ongoing because I think that each year is going to be a little bit different. And then connectivity. Is this the start of the new E-rate cycle this year?
Yes.
So we have E-rate and things. Now that is a federal program, so who knows what's going to happen with that. The district newsletter we haven't addressed. The connections with the community. I think that's going to be always ongoing. Just so that we keep things going with that. And then the K-12 student expectation discipline bullying handbook. That should be ongoing because we've worked through that. That's not right. So let's see here. And then just for the goals for this year, I'll be honest, last year we had kind of talked about them between even admin and the staff. I'm not asking you to approve these because we haven't done that, but this is kind of my first draft on going through those. So I'm not asking for approval or anything like that. So this is just my first attempt at updating them. So if we want to keep reading through those, we'll continue our discussions in-house on them, and then that'll lead to our strategic plan, which will really be our goals for the next 3 to 5 years, whatever we decide. So.
Sounds good.
That it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We will move on. New business. 26-015. A action change to the 25-26 calendar.
I keep putting the 27th.
I said it in this room earlier today. It's like on the 27th. That's a Saturday. We're not going to be here.
No. So the reason to move that, and I should have caught it when we were doing the calendar, but the 22nd falls on our count day because the 20th is on a
You think we ought
Saturday.
to have kids in the school on
Yeah.
count day?
Yeah, we actually have to count them.
Hey, where is everybody?
Probably for the best.
They do have ways to get around that, but it's probably best that we just not mess with it. So.
Do you need a motion on that?
Yeah.
I move that we accept the change as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to adjust the calendar to the 22nd to the 29th. All those in favor? All opposed? Pass. We'll go on 26-015B.
Okay.
Action approval of professional nurse.
So this is a nurse agreement that we have. There's a couple little small wording changes as far as the space. We discussed there on the second page, the third down. It has a private office space with a cot. And we talked like the elementary, we can probably provide that. The high school may be a little bit harder to do. And so they understand that. That's not a huge deal.
Right. Be different places.
Someplace
No
to throw
room in
up,
there.
is that what we're looking at?
Yes, sir.
Right, with like a privacy factor to it, so.
And there's still a nurse's office here. Or are they using for something
We
else?
we have online speech, right?
That's what you're doing there.
So we have our online speech person in there, but we still have a cot, but we've moved it back to like where there's a refrigerator and a bathroom, which is kind of nice because the bathroom is right there. And so I talked to the nurses today too, and they said maybe just put up a privacy screen just in case there's parents in the office. It's nice because we don't have a nurse here full time, so it's basically Susie is in charge of whoever's in the, and she wants to have eyes on them too. So it's very acceptable, but maybe just a screen in case there's parents that are in the office, so they're okay with that.
Spend many a day in that office down there.
We changed the rate from $30 to 30.
So the rate on here is, instead of saying a specified amount, it's to put it at to reimburse the county their hourly rate, basically. So, and that's around $32 an hour, which is, it's.
Says 35.
It says 35 on our copy.
Does it?
Yeah. That's why we ran that out.
Yeah. Did I print the right one off?
Front page says
That's
August
the right
of
date on
25.
it.
Where's that at?
Second page.
Top of the second page.
Okay, that
needs changed.
That needs changed.
So we can approve a contract that's $32.
Well, I would say to approve it to reimburse the county.
Okay.
That way that they can get started.
Okay. Questions, anybody on the contract?
Hey, Wiener. Megan got disconnected over some issues. She'll join back here in a second, so.
She's coming on, or?
She got disconnected, but she'll join back here in a few minutes, so.
Okay. We'll wait for her.
So 35 is not the right number?
No.
It's 32.
Well, it'll be
27.
It'll be around the 32, but the one that we'll sign will be it's at the reimbursing the county.
Reimbursed at their hourly rate.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We can't.
Huh?
We can't.
We can't.
We gotta wait for Megan. Megan's gonna say some things.
Oh, she is.
And she dropped the call, so she's coming back.
She said that she's having issues and she'll try to be back.
Might be on call. Running down the road on them.
She left it up in the air when she's.
Yeah, she got up in the air.
What's up in there?
Megan.
And Megan will be back.
I didn't know if it was she had questions on it. Can we just move on to admin reports and come back to it then?
Well, I'm wondering.
We can do that.
I'm sorry, let me start.
All right.
Short, I can do mine.
Mine is too, but go ahead.
Hey, you want this guy to start first?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you already talked.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm kidding. Go ahead. We're just so excited over here.
And he's not. Hey, I'm done talking. I'm ready to be done talking. Okay. So first, I'm guessing you guys will talk on these.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to go first.
I
You're
know,
stealing all
you're
our
taking
stuff.
Yep.
I'll just wait for them on those two.
You go.
So the only other thing is the Expedition and Explorer and
Let me know when she's back.
She's back right now, actually.
Oh, she's back?
well, I'll just finish mine so we can go
Okay.
straight to them after that. But
I was gonna get Megan done while she's online.
all right, that'll work.
Megan, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
We were in discussion about the agreement for the school nursing. You have some input for us?
Are they able to, are they doing any education for the teachers? I didn't hear that.
Is there any education for the teachers?
I know there's some first aid classes that we need to talk about with them. They're helping.
First response training of staff.
And then is that at the hourly rate too then? Or is that a special service?
I assume it'd be at the hourly rate.
That's what I would assume as well.
Okay.
They're helping us with a SERPA plan, and that's what are those called? AEDs. We have to have a formal plan now passed by the board.
For an AED.
Mm-hmm.
Like where they're at.
Yeah, I know what an AED is. Yeah.
Cardiac response plan.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll admit I messed up. This should have been done in July. So because we're supposed to have it by the end of July. So they have it mostly done. So even like a special meeting or the September one, we'll have that.
Are they talking about doing any like CPR training or any of that, or is that something we need to?
It says emergency first response training on the contract.
Same, different?
That's my question, because neither one of them are qualified to do that.
Okay, I think they'd help facilitate it, getting this. And I know, I think Megan, you do that.
You have to bring in me and my crew to do that.
Okay. And I know, Megan, there's quite a few teachers that are interested in that, so I don't know how we go about setting that up with you guys, but I think
I think it'd be a good thing.
Yeah.
Mandatory thing.
Right, well, and all of your coaches and
Coaches
they
and
are,
bus drivers do it.
yeah, all mandatory, but I know there's teachers that would be, we've done it in the past, but it's been quite a while since the teachers have all been certified, so.
I say if you have an in-service time that you have 2.5 hours, I'll come down and do it.
How many can you do at a time?
I can have quantities of 6, and I can have as many as I need to do at the time, or they can test out at a different time, and we can go through the education part then.
Okay. All right, because I know, we have more in services this year just because of the way that we've had to set up with our KISA, and I feel like we could probably, but if it's 2.5 hours, I think that's very doable.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, 2.5 to 3, and then, that would include the AED stuff too, if you want.
Okay. Yeah, we'll probably just get with you and the calendar and see what we can do and start going through the staff. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Anything else, Megan?
Nope, I'm good.
Have you looked over that contract? Got it?
She probably hasn't, cause
We're just handing it out.
we're just giving it.
All right, well, we can bring it up again. I thought this was in our packet.
No, it was added today.
Oh.
But we were asking so that.
Okay.
We were asking for it to be approved tonight.
Okay.
So that we can let them loose to do what they need to do.
Okay. So how do we approach Megan's point of the training? It's on our contract, and if we approve it, we need to know who's gonna teach it. If they're qualified.
It says provided, CPR for provided by EMS.
Okay, I see it now. All right, so we can approve this contract? At,
I'm not gonna vote since I can't see in contract.
okay,
Does it need to just be as presented, or do we need to
As a-
say with?
At the count, to reimburse the county.
as prevented at the reimbursement of the county rate. You got that?
I'm thinking. I'll move to approve the professional nurse services agreement with Rollins County at the county hourly rate. Okay.
Motion for the nurse's contract at the county hourly rate. And a second?
I second
And a second, all those in favor? All opposed? One abstain. We'll move on. Now we go to
Reports.
administrators.
So we just, I'll let those two talk about the other, but the Explorer and the Expedition are both in. And so we're picking them up on Thursday.
Where they at?
At Tubbs and Sons.
Colby, Kansas.
I'll never forget that, and I'll never forget the Cornell Walker's phone number. Barney Bacon
Beckman. All right, ladies first.
Okay.
Well, let me ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Are all the buses ready to go for Wednesday morning?
Yep, that's what I've been told.
Are the activity buses been repaired?
Yes.
You sure?
That's what I've been told.
Because I understand there were some problems with the bus were coming back with the lights coming on and so of this nature.
From
Denver.
From Denver? Okay, I haven't heard that. Jeff, were you on that bus?
Are you sure that the radiator has been changed out and the heater core?
And the red? No red?
That's what he told me. Yeah.
He told you yet?
Yeah.
You haven't checked it out.
Well, I don't know. I can't go into an engine and look at it.
Jeff, that'd be your line.
Yeah, I can talk to him about it, but.
Is it gonna be used for transport kids down here to high school to lunch?
That's what the plan's been.
Who's gonna drive it?
It's a multiple of people between him, Lori, and a lot of times they'll have another driver.
Trevor's not gonna drive it.
He has in the past.
Has he got a CDL?
Yeah.
He got his CDL.
Yeah.
Anything else? We good?
Nope.
All right, we're good.
Okay, we had enrollment. We are about even with where we were last year. So at the elementary, I don't know where you guys are.
Pretty close to.
Right, so should be pretty much normal. We had our new teacher orientation on Thursday, and I have 4 new teachers, and so that was kind of exciting to actually have some things to do on that day. So, and then we had Paul come in too because he started halfway through the year. So I had 4.5 new teachers. he added 2. All the information. Friday we did in-service in-house, and it was some of our mandatory things that we have to do, and then we went over some of our crisis prevention drills and tornado, fire, and all those. Monday, that's today, we went over
It's like
our
forever
KISA
ago
goals,
already.
right? With what we'd said as a KISA team and how we set up our calendar this year to go over the different FastBridge data and state assessment scores and things. So we started with our FastBridge data from last year and looked at that as we looked at it as a whole district, and then we broke out into different schools and kind of broke down from there. So we're able to kind of look at our kids and see what we need to do with them this year. So got one of those days out of the way, and
I think it was productive.
yeah, I felt like it was very productive on our side, so that was good. We have open house tomorrow night. PTO is going to provide hot dogs and cookies, and that's 4:30 to 6:30 down here. And we usually have a really good turnout for that, so that's good. Courier Health Department, they were down here today to kind of talk to us about the school supplies that they purchased for us this year. I should have wrote it down, but I think there's maybe 23 different pharmacies in the state of Kansas that do that, and so they're one of them that's providing the school supplies for their local students, and they had a very good turnout. They brought us their extras, and I talked to quite a few families, and they were very thankful, and they're hoping to house it here this next year instead of at Courier's. They said the turnout was good, but they want to make sure everybody has a chance to do it and then have it housed here. I mean, the amount of things, you don't realize how many, like 200 students, if you each bring in 2 boxes of Kleenexes and then we store them in the band room for just a little bit, it was a large amount of like Clorox wipes and Kleenexes and different things. So I can't imagine what that would do to their store. So we're going to bring it down here this next year. So it was fun. It was good.
She took most of what I was going to talk about.
Sorry.
Enrollment. Nope, you're good. We've been kind of doing the same, working together, doing the same stuff. So like she said, I think we're pretty steady, plus or minus maybe one or two students with coming and going. So, yeah, the in-service day was good. It was good to see all the teachers on. Well, I guess my new staff member, Valsis, so she partook in that piece, and then her and Miss Shirley and I, we met at the high school after that, where they're both new to our building. So excited to have them. It was good to see everybody Friday, and then like today, this morning I felt very productive, and so tomorrow's a work day for them all to get all ready to go for Wednesday. Let's see what else. Working on finishing touches on a parking plan and parking letter to go out for tomorrow. Just all that information is out. We do have the big gym open for practice.
Jeff, did you want to go over the parking real quick?
Sure. This is kind of what we have drawn up for now. The green areas, are parking per se on campus. That south piece on the left side there, that would be north on the top. So the south piece there, that's that hillside down there by where the band room used to be. McCown Gordon did push our fence back on the east side there, the south and the east side there, so there's a nice wide walking lane there, which will help us for students and for football to get access to those grandstands. That red area there is, we did utilize that some for parking last year, but we have all the steel and everything laying there. And with that being said, that black area there, we can utilize that for football, but during the day, just talking with McCown, it's probably best to leave that open because just the steel transfer that will have to happen across there, it's going to be better during the day to not have cars sitting there that we may need to have moved and those types of things.
Assuming when they start moving the steel, they're going to shut that walkway off.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll coordinate all that with them when that happens.
There's room there to park right now, but when they've got it like on a loader, a beam, that's
beam
where
across there.
the cars are in the way. And,
You got people that come up park at noon for football sometimes too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Keep an eye on them.
So that might be something to put out there. And then we're going to utilize that east practice field there for parking as well, where we've lost that other parking. And that'll be, we can use that for games and everything else. As far as for games, we've talked to football coaches about the football players parking off. They eat at 510 Main a lot of times, parking down there and coming up just to free up parking. So we don't have, that's 20 less cars, at least if the football players aren't parking up here before the football game. So, talking to a lot of people, able-bodied individuals, they're planning on parking in the streets and just trekking in. We have been discussing a possibility of a shuttle, different places for that to park. We've talked about this down here in front of the grade school. The hospital has offered us their lot to use as a place to go from. Other spots, we talked to Columbian Hall or Catholic Church. We haven't talked to
I have
those.
a problem with the hospital. I hate seeing all them people and kids crossing the highway.
What he's saying, then have a shuttle
bus.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, still, okay.
So that was just one of the options we've talked about down here too, just for quickness of their route and everything. So junior sponsors, they've got a plan together on what their concessions are going to look like there.
Where's that going to be?
We're looking at outside the modulars where you can walk up the sidewalk there, so they can utilize one of our extra classrooms. We'll have our cooler in there and storage in there for them, and they're just planning on, paring it down a little bit. They're not going to offer quite as much stuff, understandably. So for the football. So, but and then school day will have those spots, and then kids parking, kind of like they did last year. So should work okay.
Okay.
The gym, you checked it out, it's in good shape.
Yeah, we walked through it with a couple times with Pete and Brian. And yeah, there's the floor looks good. Dion got the net up today and everything. The big fans are working in there. We are the big floor fans. We're gonna get some of those out there. They got hauled to Ludell when we had open mat wrestling out there, so we just got to get them back to heat. That's on the list of things that we talked about in that OAC meeting about. That's a similar heat to what we had last year. Typing it in again. So.
Well, that's gonna save some running up and down the highway.
Tomorrow for hot dogs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are those all beef?
The gym looks fairly normal outside of those tiles, those sound absorption tiles in the corners, but the hallway and classroom, a lot of that's been ripped up and
with the tiles gone up, it looks uneven.
rough. Yeah,
So.
it does.
You said that awful quick.
So, and yeah,
that's it.
Is there a time frame of when plumbing will be operational in the?
I assume that that's gonna have to be with furtherance of the one side or the other. I'm not.
We haven't talked about that at all.
To my understanding, the sewer will route through that north piece somehow or the other and out to the front.
We've got outhouses lined up for football games.
There's some there that are construction that's in a good spot, and we can work with them because it'll be through the same company. But we just need to call them H&H, who we've used, and that's who we'll call again. So we'll
Okay.
get them here.
You got anything to add? Nope. All right. We'll move on. 2601-7, executive session. How many minutes you need?
5 minutes? 2
3.
minutes? 3? Works for me.
I move that we go into executive session for non-elected personnel for 3 minutes.
Second.
Motion for 3 minutes, executive session. All in favor?
Somebody wants to go home.
All opposed?
Can you just ask what connectivity is between facilities?
That's just like the internet connectivity.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
I'm checked out.
Huh? Oh, okay.
He got to go to high school that night.
You're good to go.
Okay, we are back in session. Motion?
You want it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I move to, accept the resignation of Leslie Bailey, junior, senior high para, and accept the hire of Jordan Springer, the same position, for the same position,
High school pair.
junior, senior high school para.
I'll second that.
Motion to accept the resignation, accept the hire. All those in favor? All opposed? I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
To adjourn? Nobody vote.
Megan
Nobody
vote?
vote.
Yeah, she did.
All those in favor? All opposed?